Welcome everybody to High and Low, a podcast about talking picture shows.
We do films that are corny, and some that are horny, and some that win Academy Awards.
Doing all kind of movies from all kind of genres, serving hot takes like plates of lasagna.
Before we get going, a warning to you. You might hear some talk that's a little blue.
We sometimes cuss and we sometimes curse. We like to do it off the cuff and don't rehearse.
Now if this sounds like your kind of show,
Tune in,
Drop out.
This is High and Low.
Welcome back to the High and Low podcast, the show where, for the benefit of no one, we compare two movies tenuously connected by an arbitrary theme of our choosing. One movie has the guts and grit to go top speed all the way to victory in that cold, refreshing bottle of milk. The other one is dead on arrival, past the point where even the almighty dragon Shenlong can revive it. This week, we're covering live-action anime adaptations. First up, we're going Mach 5 as we discuss 2008's Speed Racer, the Wachowskis' directorial follow-up to their colossal Matrix trilogy. And then we'll be going Super Saiyan as we dive into the 2009 flop Dragonball Evolution. With me, as always, are my fellow racers Mitchell
Hello, happy to be here.
and Luke.
hi.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing this week?
Just great. You know, we're all basking in the post-holiday bliss.
Yeah, trying to get the girdle back on. It's kind of blew open over the holidays there, and I just got to re-cinch it.
I'm just trying to slick my hair forward and down because it was blown back by Speed Racer and then blown up from Dragon Ball. So I'm
Yeah, and
having a real hard time getting it under control.
As a result, your hair looks like Goku hair, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
Did you use
fucking
40
cool.
cans of Did you use 40 cans of hairspray on your hair too? Apparently that's what they needed every day for Dragon Ball.
Sorry,
Oh,
ozone
man.
layer.
I don't believe in chlorofluorocarbons.
It didn't even look as extreme or anime enough to warrant that much hairspray.
Not at all. It kind of just looked I don't know, like a modern day K-pop singer or something like that.
It looked like an era appropriate haircut. You remember like the spikes were kind of cool in the 2000s and stuff.
Still cool.
Yeah,
So cool.
Spikes never left. We don't have the big Liberty spikes like we used to, but
No.
we have more softer, gentler spikes.
The dippity doo, I think, was that
yeah.
ultra super hard hold gel. I'd get to spike up my hair.
I'd put that
I'd
stuff
some of
on
that.
and it would just be greasy. I would look like when Danny DeVito kept covering himself in hand sanitizer in that one episode of It's Always Sunny. I'm just like a slimy sheen of a mess who just leaves a slug trail everywhere I go.
I could just imagine teenage Vonn. That would be gross. But your hair's so thick, that's why. But
It was.
What's cool though? Everyone wanted to leave slime trails all around the school, like old Vonn. But
well, thanks for joining us on Salon Chat.
Yeah.
This is the #1 hair podcast in Western Canada.
I'd recommend Dippity Doo. Brought to you by our new sponsor this week.
Dippity, don't
Oh,
go there. How about
hey,
that?
Oh,
I have rejected the world of hair. I no longer have needs for your dippity doos and your dapper dans or whatever hairstyling products you guys use.
Mitchell's so superior with his no hair. His eyes are rolling back in his head and he's levitating.
I'm like a Buddhist
So
monk.
much power.
he's such a trendsetter. Luke and I are about 5 or 10 years behind him. We'll catch up one day. So this week we're talking about Speed Racer. Came out in 2008. It was the Wachowskis' next movie that they directed after The Matrix. They produced V for Vendetta, but they didn't direct it. So this is the first time they're getting back in the chair. They wrote it. They directed. It's their baby from what I understand. The studios pretty much gave them carte blanche to do whatever they want because
Blank
Warner
check.
Brothers got like $2 billion from the Matrix movies. So even if it's a huge flop, they could, just keeping the Wachowskis happy, they're going to keep them around.
And what a pair to give carte blanche to, because they basically took the exact opposite approach of the Dragon Ball Evolution, our second movie, where they seem very appropriate to the source material. In some ways, that might have cost them a little bit of a critical reception upon initial release, but looking back, you appreciate it a lot more.
Well, yeah, when we were talking about what movies we were going to do, and we were talking about how animation doing a live action adaptation doesn't always work out very well because animation has a style that you can do anything you want with. And I think that Speed Racer is probably the strongest example of how to do it right. And when I watch it, I don't watch it like a Marvel
Stronger
movie.
than Jon Favreau's Lion King?
Stronger than Jon Favreau's Lion King.
That's saying something.
But like, I'm not watching it to like see to make the real world look cooler. Like they're not using it like a Star Wars, like Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones or something where they're doing it. Really, it should be watched like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and your Bob Hoskins walking through Toontown, and it's just like a couple live characters in a completely animated world, and things are just going crazy all around them.
I 100% agree. That's how it should be. Like the idea that making something live action makes it inherently better or more interesting or more exciting is fucking ludicrous to me. I'm not a huge animation fan. I'm not a huge anime or manga fan, but like I get it. Like there's certain things that animation can do and should do better than live action, and you have to stick to the heart of that. That's what makes it good. When it's good, and in this case, it's fucking pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's visually exciting and interesting from start to finish.
It's like a hyper stylized thing, like it's which prevents it from being dated in any way. You could look at some of the CG, and if they were trying to go for a realistic look, you would be like, this doesn't look that great. But because it's so hyper stylized and kind of true to the source material, it works really, really well, and it has aged really, really well.
And even the way that the camera moves around, where they'll show like a character kind of like going from left to right across the screen while like everything else is going in the other direction in the background. It moves and looks like an anime does. Animes, like when they're drawn, they're very dynamic. The backgrounds are moving all the time. There's things always going on, whether it's just like some blue streaks going past or there's just like big explosions or something. There's always something going on, and this movie really captured that well.
This movie is an editing masterclass, where one scene just flows into the other so seamlessly. It's pretty amazing, actually. It's a breakneck pace from start to finish, appropriate for Speed Racer.
An appropriate name for a child who's a racing prodigy, too.
Yeah, that whole family's appropriately named. I wonder if that's like an old English thing, like Smiths. John Smith, his ancestor was a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Or like all the racers have been racers.
We're racing families, and we don't like erasers. So the movie starts off with Speed. He's sitting in the locker room, and he's just full of anxiety. You can see his leg just going and going and going. And while this is happening, he's looking at a picture of his brother. Immediate smash cut to him as a child. He's filling out a test as fast as he can, and he's drawing pictures of cars and filling out his little Scantron bubble sheet. Instead of doing the answers, he's writing Go Rex Go, which is his brother's name. So like he loves racing, he loves his brother.
It's a movie that's kind of hard to take notes on because of the way it's edited. It just like so seamlessly goes from flashbacks to the present day. Yeah, you've got Emil Hirsch, Speed Racer, in the locker room, cuts back to the past, cuts back to him in the locker room. It's cutting back and forth between him and the races and everything, and him remembering the past. It does an excellent job filling you in on the backstory of the world.
It does that a lot too, jumping through time or jumping through imagined sequences even.
And you don't even know what's going on until, like, it'll take you through, like, 5 minutes of a sequence, and then it turns out that it's completely imagined. And then, 2 minutes later, you realize, oh, that actually is exactly how it happened, and it's not just a dream sequence or something. Like, it's
a flash forward.
Yeah, it's a flash
in the middle of the present moment. Yeah.
So,
it's unlike anything else.
And it's not a short movie. It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes, but the storytelling's pretty economical. Like, within the first 10 or 15 minutes, you learn about who Speed is, what his motivations are, who his family is, who all the main characters are. You know what Speed's dreams are. You know what his fears are. So his brother died in a race, which is a plot point later on.
Rex Racer.
Rex Racer dies, and he's a great racer. Speed loves him. It just shows you everything, and then you show Speed's race, and he wins. But like by the time that race is done, you know kind of everything you need to know about everybody. All the major players, anyways.
You know everything you need to know for this movie.
So we see him teaching Lil Speed Racer the track.
Yeah.
Says the best ever, did it blindfolded on the last lap.
I don't know, maybe. I know a certain racer who looks like he's wearing a blindfold the entire time. Maybe he's kind of winking to himself. Racer X later on, and he comes up later on in the movie, and he's the top half of his face is covered in a mask. And but I don't think this Racer X has anything to do with Rex Racer. I think they're
not
completely
really.
different.
Can't be the same person.
No, it can't be the same person.
One of them's got a mask.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we see Speed Racer racing, right?
Yeah.
And it's intercut with
Yeah.
his brother Rex, and he's gunning for his brother's best time.
He's way ahead of the competition, and the announcers, who I love, by the way, all of the this movie has about 20 different announcers, and they're all just extreme characters from all over the world, and everybody's just like so excited, and they love racing. You have like apparently 2 of the Japanese announcers voiced characters of Speed and Trixie in the 1967 show.
They all seemed like they were people to me. I didn't know who they
Yeah.
were, but I'm like, I bet that's somebody. Or like this guy works on ESPN or something.
Yeah, like probably. Yeah, the camera stays a little too long for them to not be somebody.
yeah.
But yeah, the one announcer's like, Speed Racer, he's the only person he's racing is the ghost of his brother Rex. And you kind of like see the ghost car, and he's like, him and Speed are going nose to nose. And here we get to see Speed's family in the modern day. You have
The Racer family.
the Racer family. There's Pops Racer, played by John Goodman. Great choice for the role. He's a big rotund guy at this time, and he kind of has that's exactly more or less how Pops looks.
Fantastic in this movie.
He has so much warmth too, and like he brings so much.
So much power, so much warmth. It's using all of John Goodman's strengths.
Yeah.
That's the thing I love most about this movie is how sincere everyone is. There's not a performance in here that's played for irony. Like, everyone's playing it straight. It's ridiculous material, and it's hyper-stylized, but, like, Emile Hirsch is just playing it so straight, and everyone's playing it so sincere that you're like, this is really charming.
No irony, but all fun.
Like everybody knew what they were doing, but nobody's winking at it.
Like, I put this on with my wife, and she would not be into this movie normally. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. I was like, there's no way you're going to want to watch this whole thing, but I got to watch this. She sat down for the whole movie. Like,
It's engrossing.
It's pretty hard to look away from. It's like, even if
She's
you're
like,
not
"This
really
movie's
into the
fun."
movie, it's hypnotic. There's just so
Yeah.
many moving, flashing colors going around.
And again, just the flow of the editing, the way scenes lead into each other, and there's flashbacks and flash forwards. Like, you really don't have a chance to be like, oh, this is the bathroom break scene or whatever.
so the rest of his family, who do we meet?
Susan Sarandon playing Mum Racer.
Mummy to us all.
Mummy.
Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, and she's good. She doesn't have the most to do in this movie, but she plays the loving, caring mother really well.
Yeah.
So then we meet Trixie, who I don't think she's a full-fledged member of the Racer family, but she's Speed's girlfriend. They've known each other since they were a little kid. They she was charmed with him back in school, and then Speed saw her while he was kind of riding a little go-kart around on the quad or something, and he crashed into a rose bush, and they met, and it was love at first sight.
There was a
Somebody's-
school mean girl.
Yeah, somebody says that they're all R words.
Yeah.
And little Trixie like punched this girl out.
Yeah.
It's like, so you get like so much about her character there that she's just like a firebrand.
Yeah,
she doesn't
she's-
care.
Yeah.
She loves her man and she loves racing.
And she'll knock you out if you say anything bad about her. But
Hell
like
yeah.
these little shitty girls they raise a point. Like Speed Racer is the most distracting kid in any class. Like he's like making
Yeah.
car sound effects during a test and stuff like that. And
Oh yeah,
he can't stop buzzing
can't
around.
Focus on class at all. His entire life, he's Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
He wanted to be the speed racer from a young age. He's making flip books in class out of his tests, out of like races and stuff.
Yeah,
So would you guys bully him?
I would
I wouldn't.
give
I
him
probably would.
a wedgie that he would never recover from.
Trixie would punch me out and I'd be like,
Hit me again.
one more.
Little lower. And so Trixie, she's played by Christina Ricci, who is awesome in this movie. She just has the construction of her face. She has the biggest eyes, and that just plays so well to this type of like. If you're going to do an anime, like a live action thing, she kind of looks like a live action anime person.
She's a living anime character.
Like she's got the sharp lower angles on her face, and her eyes are gigantic. And
Yeah.
And so she's really good. And then I didn't catch the actor who plays, but then Speed also has a younger brother, Spritle. And then you pan down, and I've seen this movie a few times, and I'm still surprised that the reveal of a chimpanzee sitting next to this like 12-year-old shit boy. And they're just like passing like binoculars back and forth, and there's like a little chimp sitting next to them. And Chim Chim's the real star of the show.
Spritle and Chim Chim are they're the dynamic duo in this movie. They're always together. Any scenes that they're the mischievous younger members of the Racer family. They're going to be stealing candy. They're going to be doing all kinds of fun things.
So
together.
was there a chimp in the original show?
I think so.
I think
yeah.
so.
There was a Chim Chim.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think all these characters are from the original show.
And I trust the authors to be pretty true to the source material. They really, like, even when you watch like The Matrix, the Wachowskis are they're really strongly influenced by anime and that whole style of action,
Yeah.
and you know, Hong Kong action movies as well. But they're really like, I trust them to be true to this source.
Putting a chimp in your movie, though, does add a specific flavor in a post-Nope world where just like anytime you see a chimp around anyone, you're just alarmed. That
I'm a little on edge.
Yeah, like somebody's face could get torn
Yeah,
off at any
Apparently,
moment.
he did get bit. I think they put down one of the chimps that played this chimp.
Oh my
is
God.
what I read in the Wikipedia.
Oh,
I should have
no.
double-checked my fact. I don't know if they put him down, but PETA protested this movie.
See?
Because of the chimp thing, it bit that boy.
Sure.
It said that he bit a child
Oh my
actor.
God, they bit my boy. The chimp bit my boy.
It must have been
Gordy,
Spritzel.
no, bad Gordy. As he rips the trainer in half.
Yeah.
I know we're supposed to be stressed out about whether Speed wins the race or not, but I'm just waiting for Spritl's face to get ripped to shreds here.
Yeah. I mean, this chimp isn't particularly intimidating, but, you know, every once in a while he'll smile and you see those giant chimp teeth and you're like, somebody's genitals could get ripped off right now.
Kenzie and Willie. That's the two chimps that played
Okay.
Chim Chim.
Which one got put down?
I'm sure one is the late.
Yikes. Yeah.
I wish I didn't know a
incident.
chimp died during this filming, but because honestly, like
fuck.
Spritle and Chim Chim, like if you're gonna cut anything out, like they're fun, but they are the weakest links of these movies because they're always getting into shenanigans. I appreciate that I appreciate the little break where you get to see them running amok and walk around in a big trench coat, but
They're the comic
you can
relief.
tighten it up a bit if you get rid of the Spritle and Chim Chim.
The chimp didn't die. It was hit, and some people saw it and reported it.
Oh.
But 5 piranhas did die.
Wait.
They used real piranhas for that scene?
Hells yeah,
Oh my
apparently.
Interesting.
So I was gonna wait to talk about this till we got to, but where's the piranhas these days? Like, I don't mean the
That was a
piranha
trope.
like double D or like
Bring
all
them
like
back.
those. Like, bring back piranhas. I miss people
Yeah.
getting devoured by a pack of angry
Thanks,
fish.
PETA.
Yeah.
I can't even put fish in a fucking movie anymore. Like, I ate like 5 fish yesterday. Like,
You can't.
I don't give a fuck about a piranha.
I want to
Oh
see.
man, I'm gonna
kill
get
you
canceled.
Like, we need a movie where there's a lake of piranhas and then some sinking sand, some sand, you know, quicksand that people walk in. All the old dangers in movies that have been out of date for decades plus.
Quicksand filled with piranhas.
Oh
Hear
my
me out.
Piranha sand. Oh no.
A desert of piranhas, eh?
That could be our Sharknado. Piranha sand.
But it needs to be played completely straight,
Yeah.
where people aren't.
Yeah, you got to try.
Yeah, we got to have Michael Shannon in the lead.
Oh yeah, there's piranhas out there.
He's damn
I'll
serious.
walk over them with my long legs. So that's the Racer family. And they're going, and everybody's just all tense. Is Speed going to do it? And people are trying to, like, the
Yeah.
other racing crews are losing their mind. There's people being like, I told you to take him out!
Yeah.
And they're saying, but we're trying, sir. He's just too fast. Like,
It's a dirty industry. Everybody's trying to take everybody out, and but Speed has already won this race. He's racing against the ghost of his brother
yeah,
now.
there's no stopping him. And Speed, he can do it. He can win. But at the last second, he takes his foot off the gas, and his brother's ghost soars past him, and because he's not ready to take over the legacy of his brother and be the best racer in the family yet. And that's kind of his arc throughout the whole movie. Just coming to terms with letting the past be in the past and just living his life.
And the whole Speed family seems good with that too. Like, you've got Pop Racer, Mom Racer, Chim Chim, and Spritzel in the crowd there.
Spritel? Spritel. Spritel.
Chim Chim's throwing his turds
Spritle.
everywhere.
And they're aware of the real stakes of the race. Like, oh, of course, Speed's gonna beat these regular racers, but will he beat his brother's race? And he doesn't. He pulls it in just at the last half second, and they all seem relieved too.
And Speed wins. Speed wins the race, and everybody's excited. And as he wins, I don't know if Trixie says this here or there, but she's like during the race, she's like cool beans. She's just so excited about.
That's her
Speed winning the
catchphrase.
race.
Cool beans.
Cool beans. Is that where this came from?
She must have, it's probably an old, outdated expression from the 60s, and the Wachowskis have just so honored.
I think you're right. I think that's an old one.
Cool beans.
Kind of came back in the aughts.
Yeah. I loved it when
even though no one saw this movie.
Creed said it in The Office at one point, which was hilarious. Cool beans.
Speed wins the race. And cut to breakfast at the Racer house, where Mom Racer, she's flapping some jacks, making pancakes. They're having a great morning. Trixie breezes in. I don't know if she lives with them or what, but she's just always around.
Oh yeah, she's got like open door, open fridge privilege at this house. She's a permanent fixture.
She's the Urkel of their house.
Yes. She goes in, and she's the reason their Sunny
have
D-Tab
cheese.
is like, way over budget for the month, because she just goes through all their snack drinks.
One thing that impressed me about this movie is how in like almost every scene, every cast member is there. Like the whole Speed Racer family just moves around. They go to every meeting together. They have breakfast together.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
Almost every scene, every cast member is in the scene.
No thanks.
That had to be hard to shoot. Like that
Yeah.
had to be a
Everybody
big
had to be
strain
on
on the
there.
budget, especially when you have a child actor. They can only work like 2 hours a day or something stupid. I think there's some rule about that. It's not a stupid rule.
It's a stupid rule. Make those kids work.
Shoot it in
16-hour
Florida.
days.
Like I don't
They're
think
full of energy.
Make them work as long as they make the chimps work.
they don't have those rules in Florida. Shoot it there.
It's always funny when you hear about, they shot this movie in Romania because they can just pay people for peanuts, literal peanuts every day, and they can shoot as long as they want.
Nice. Werner Herzog, you're a genius. Good job on that.
It's legal to beat your extras with a bag of rocks there.
He doesn't have to feed his workers.
Smart. I allow them to go and forage for 30 minutes each day, and that is what they get to bring to set.
Get into the nativist mindset.
And so it's breakfast, and there's a big rumbling, and all the racers like, "What's going on? What's going on?"
Is it an earthquake?
Is it an earthquake? Maybe, but they open the door, and it's Royalton, who is the main bad guy in the movie. He owns Royalton Industries and his fucking obnoxious jumbo jet that he's just like parked across the street, like blocking off the street.
His John Hammond scene from Jurassic Park, where he like shows up in his John Hammond shows up in his helicopter and he's messing up the dig to talk to Alan Grant. This is Royalton has showed up in his jumbo jet, parking on a suburban street to talk to the Racer family.
He's pretty slick and charming off the top.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You don't know he's a bad guy at first.
I mean, I knew he was a bad guy.
Yes.
But not everybody else was 100% sure he's a bad guy.
We knew he was a bad guy. The Racer family didn't know he was a bad guy at first.
Oh, they expect they hope for the best out of everybody, and I really love them for that. They're such optimists, and they're optimists in a very cynical world. And this Royalton, he's just kind of being like, "Oh, I brought you these flowers, and I assure you they'll bloom 3 times before they die," and blah. And he's just like schmoozing, and then he stops and he smells like, "Oh, is that pancakes I smell?" And he's just kind of like waiting for his invite in, and Susan Sarandon's like, "Yeah, do you want some?" And he says, "When I was a child in the orphanage, we had a saying. It was Pankoken Sie Liebstein," which is pancakes are love.
And he's got a point.
Yeah, pancakes are great. And
Won me over.
Oh, well, he's talking up the whole Racer family here, and he's very much a silver-tongued devil. He's talking to Speed Racer. He's like, "You're not just a racer, you're an artist. I love watching you work. It's so..." It's like,
He might be blowing smoke up everybody else's ass, but I mean, if Susan Sarandon's making me pancakes,
yeah,
it's love, man.
yeah,
fair
and
deal.
he's just ready to blow his load all between the prospect of he's courting Speed, so between getting him on his racing team and the prospect of having some of Susan Sarandon's pancakes, this guy's ready to burst. Mm-hmm. and he loves them the pancakes so much that he offers to buy them, so he can use them in some hiker's meal, like dry, like some shitty backpacking meal or something like that. So right away, everything with this guy is transactional.
Yeah, that's what a rich corporate CEO type guy this guy is. Everything is a business venture for him.
They're always the bad guys in movies, is like these corporate hotshots. Like every movie, that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And yet somehow that's just how things still are. They run the everything.
I was thinking of that the other day.
In real life,
How like, there's no good guy corporation in a movie. Yeah, like Omnicorp and RoboCop is the bad guy. Like in our fiction, we have so realized who the bad guys and good guys are, but it doesn't translate to the real life. It's crazy.
You'd think with generations of movies teaching us that all corporate suits are just scumbag assholes, maybe somebody would have a change of heart about this.
I don't know. I'm not made of stone. If he's like, why don't you come with me and like eat this caviar and just party with supermodels all day, every day, and win races and become a like richer than God? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say
that
no
much to buy Vonn out. Really,
no, $30 and a Big Mac.
Yeah.
There is a weird like dragon eating its own tail thing where it's like giant corporations are putting out these movies where the bad guys are giant corporations and everyone's like, oh yeah, giant corporations are definitely the bad guys. Yeah, we live in a cynical, dark reality.
It's the bad place.
It's the bad place.
Sorry, I had to go off on that tangent.
No, it's fair enough. But like that's kind of like what this movie's sort of getting at is like it takes somebody who has really strong moral fiber, like Speed Racer. He's like the only person ever who's said no to the big buyout deal.
You see it in this movie, and you see it in real life with
Speed.
enter any sports league here.
Yeah.
Like they show at one. So Speed's about to get taken to the royalty factory, and there you see people just like being trained in like the most tested in the most ridiculous ways, like being blasted with like snow guns and like being like pulled through pools and stuff. Like people do that to get into the major leagues of other sports too. Like you read stories about how in some countries they'll like bind children's feet so they can stay small and agile and become like good gymnasts, from a very early age.
And
Wait, is that bad? Binding children's feet?
No, I don't know. I mean, if they're good gymnasts.
But yeah, like Royalton's facility is like a Willy Wonka facility for racing stuff. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. Like he's taking the racer family through his facility on a tour, trying to convince them to join up with his racing league. People getting blasted with snow, people getting blasted with heat. There's like cars being assembled with these crazy arms, and it's just like a whimsical, magical racing factory where everything centers around these cars.
Not hand-built like the racer family.
No,
hand-built their cars.
Yeah, they show this big contraption that's bolting a car together, and Royalton's like, we can put a car together in 36 hours. and the whole time Pops is a little bit aloof. He's just being like, John Goodman does a lot of good growls. Like,
yeah. So Speed lays it all out in a later meeting with Royalton where he's like, hey, look, my family, we're like an independent mom and pop shop. We love racing. We feel a certain way about racing. And to us, you're basically the devil. Like, you are the big corporate entity. And racing is a religion in our household.
You're not the devil.
You are the devil.
You're precious.
Racing and snake handling.
Speaking tongues.
Needless, but regardless, they say the proposal looks pretty good, and they'd give it a week to think it over.
Royalton was so crestfallen when Speed didn't accept on the spot. He's like, I don't know if I want to. And he's like, this offer doesn't come around every day, son. He's like, well, if I have to give an answer, and he's about to say no, and Royalton's like, I'll take a week. We'll talk next week. And
yeah. He wants Speed Racer.
He wants Speed Racers so bad.
And Trixie's on this tour too. And it's something weird I thought was the camera kept holding on her and she wasn't saying anything. She was like silent for like the first 40 minutes of this movie pretty much. She had like no lines. And I was like, is she mute?
She's a deaf mute.
I wasn't sure. And then finally like she'd only say a few lines, but all she would say is like, Speed Racer's the best. I love Speed Racer. Speed Racer, you're the greatest. And I was like, is that her thing? Like, I didn't know what the show is. Like, is she like some sort of robot that only speaks in praise of Speed Racer?
Like, Pops Racer built her to cheer for Speed Racer.
That was my note at this point, but like, later on, she does have a little more to say.
Yeah.
They have some good moments later on, but yeah, you're
was
right. For
just weird.
for this factory scene, it may as well have been Chim Chim wearing a Christina Ricci mask and just
Yeah.
kind of like looking around, not doing much.
But like the camera like zooms in and holds on her, and it's like, what is she even thinking? I have no clue.
That's Christina Ricci.
Well, that's where you're supposed to insert the
Jeez.
thought dialogue,
Cool.
the thought bubbles. They forgot to put those in on this movie for whatever reason. Speed has to take a minute, and so then smash cut to Korean pop sensation Rain, kind of getting the crap
yeah.
knocked out of him. My sister, who taught English in Korea for a year, she has a Rain magnet, so I was familiar with this guy
Okay.
before I saw him in.
See, I looked this guy up on the cast list, and I saw he had one name, like Cher. So I was sure he was like a J-pop idol or a K-pop, I guess.
K-pop, yeah. And kind of probably like an early, I don't know much, I don't really know anything about that whole side of things, but you know, he's been around since like 2007, so before K-pop became the huge sensation that it is in North America anyways. So
Yes, speaking of what were we talking about earlier? Where an industry that like trains people from a young age. Oh, sports industries. Yeah, the K-pop industry and the J-pop industry. My God, those are horrific sounding. It's you basically grab a young kid from a young age, train them up. Their life is nothing but work and.
Don't
sounds
hear
horrific.
PETA protesting them.
No, what the heck?
I can't remember her name, but when I was playing in the band some years ago, we had this show. We got this promoter reached out to us and was like, "Hey, I hear you guys have a pretty good sound. I'm putting a show together at Avenue Theater." And so we went there, and all the promotional material was kind of like putting forward like the 2 or 3 people that this guy's kind of like scumbaggy record label was trying to put forward. And one of them was like, I don't know, 15-year-old girl or something. Like she was like young. And she was like kind of like being pushed forward as like the new sensation, and she just looked so sad. Like you may as well have just like opened a cage for her to like go out and do her show and then go back. She was just looking all glum backstage, and like the guys came out with like the cattle prods, like get on there, do your songs,
Dance sexy.
and then it was just like such a low budget show. Like they were trying to like make it look cool with the flashing lights and all this stuff, and she had a couple background dancers, and
Man, that's so depressing.
it is, and they didn't even
You know
pay
her
us.
mom's beating her with the car aerial
Yeah.
after.
Oh yeah.
They promised
You
us
were
money.
flat. No different than a hardcore hockey family. Like, you're gonna be a star.
Now inject this into your lips.
It's eyeliner. And the scumbag didn't even pay us. We were supposed to get money for our merch and the door, and we didn't see shit. And so,
Oh man.
It is such
Total
a
slime
like
ball.
a predatory industry all around. Oh yeah.
Here
it's-
comes Honey Boo Boo.
exactly.
Oh, okay. There's this whole industry designed around taking advantage of people who want to get famous. Where it's like, okay, yeah, you go to our guy for your headshots. Pay him $1,000. He'll make you some great headshots. Then you go to our recording studio, and they'll make you a great mix track of your voice, and pay him a couple $1,000. And after you've paid your life savings to these people, you never hear from them again. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Unless you get a viral hit on YouTube like Rebecca Black.
Yeah. And
It's a
then,
coin flip industry.
then you'll get bullied into never putting out. I think she's done a few more songs, but
I think she's doing fine.
Yeah.
She has rich parents.
yeah, I just feel bad for
Yeah.
the reaction. Like she's just like a girl who like made a song, and it's a bad song. I listen to it unironically every Friday for a good long while.
It brings me joy.
Yeah.
They play it on the radio every Friday on like the Bear or some station like that around here. They play like a Chinese version of it. Like,
It's interesting.
yeah.
It's really corny. Hey, God bless her.
Yeah. So anyway, Korean pop sensation Rain is getting beat up by these like knucklehead gangsters who look like they came straight out of the 30s or something like that. They're all wearing zoot suits and fedoras and bowler
Yeah.
hats and stuff like that. And you don't really know what's going on. You don't know who this character is. You don't know who anybody else is. And there's this guy who's I can't remember his name, but he's basically saying like, oh, you need to throw the next race. And he's got a piranha tank behind him.
This is like a mob of British gangsters. I think they're supposed to be British. They're not dressed like anybody else in this movie. They're wearing like who were those twins? Did you guys ever watch that movie that Tom Hardy played the twins in?
Legend, I think it was called.
Yeah, Legend. They're like that era of British gangster where they wear the suits and one of them has mutton chops. Like they're the Britishest of British gangsters.
Yeah. Not like Peaky Blinders, but after that.
Yeah, slightly after that.
Yeah.
But beholding to the past of Peaky Blinders. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Peaky fucking blinders.
They've got
We
this-
kill piranhas like crazy.
You want to get put in my piranha tank, do you?
Oh, take your eyes. Yeah.
Is that what he said?
That's what they say in Peaky Blinders.
Okay. Okay. Not in Speed Racer.
It's a good show.
I haven't gotten into it. I've seen bits and pieces, but
You're
like
fine.
It.
It's mostly cool music with like cool looking guys walking slow.
Yeah.
I know Nick Cave does the themes. Well, the theme song's a Nick Cave song, and that gets some points. in
Cillian
my book.
Murphy, people like that guy.
Hey, I'm pulling for him for
I'm
this
one of
Oscar
them.
this year. So these new age Peaky Blinders are they're threatening him, and the guy, he throws what looks like an entire goat leg or something like that over his shoulder into the piranha tank, and all the. I'm so surprised that these piranhas were real, that they used any real piranhas at all.
There was CGI piranhas. Why wouldn't they just go with only CGI piranhas? Because, yeah, you're right. Like, they were mostly CGI in the shots that were used.
You say 5 piranhas died during this? Is that what? Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. What's the lifespan of a piranha?
Maybe they
Pretty
brought
short
in
if
the
you're working
piranhas.
with the Wachowskis.
It's
Maybe
like,
they brought in the piranhas and, like, they put the goat leg in it and the piranhas didn't eat it right away. And they're like, we can't use these piranhas. Why don't we just use digital piranhas? And they're like, okay, fine, pull out those piranhas. And then
Smart.
they just beat them all to death with a stick.
what are we gonna do with these?
I don't know. Fucking kill them.
The locals are hungry.
I haven't like caught a fish that to eat in a long time, and every time I've gone fishing recently, it's catch and release. But when I was a kid, I would catch a fish, and they give you these little baseball bats that you can buy at Canadian Tire or whatever, and I'm just like whacking it, and it's not dying, and it's just flapping around. And to think that the Wachowskis made some grips do that to these poor piranhas, allegedly, not even allegedly. They didn't.
Yeah, shame on Lily and Lana.
So, this movie definitely doesn't have the no animals were harmed during the making
No,
stamp.
it
Is
was
that-
condemned by PETA.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it actually had. In addition to the piranhas and the chimp that was beaten, they probably also shot a gorilla and an elephant just for kicks.
Yeah. Just to protect the set.
That was
Like-
their other blank check movie that didn't come out. It was like a remake of the Thomas Edison electrocuting an elephant. This is our passion project.
Yeah.
It's a 2-minute film where an elephant dies on screen.
I tell you, direct current is way safer than alternating current.
Warner Brothers is just like, all right, how much is the check? All right, here you go. Fuck.
Warner Brothers has been indulging in people's elephant killing fantasies for decades, and we all know it.
Yeah.
So they probably had an electric kangaroo fence around their lot that they were shooting this on, and who knows what those monsters did.
They got to keep some people in. They got to keep some things out. You know, you need a multifaceted fence.
You need to keep the actors in.
You're not trapped in here. I'm not trapped in here with you.
Like
You're trapped in here with the kangaroos.
someone was trying to run from Chim Chim, and they got to the electric fence. They're like, ah.
Hey, kangaroo! I didn't hear anybody say cut. People boxing kangaroos in the back lot in the afternoon. It kept morale up because this movie was probably shot in a warehouse of some sort, and that could get a little depressing because almost entirely green screen.
Oh yeah, this was probably shot in a green room with green hallways, and everyone was wearing green outfits. It was probably the most surreal experience to shoot.
But it works. It works better than the Avengers movies
Yes.
that are all shot on green screen that's supposed to be in Midtown New York or whatever, and it
Or
looks atrocious.
the Star Wars prequels or whatever, because they go for that hyper stylized anime look that's true to the source material.
While this is going on, after the goat leg gets devoured, they're gonna dunk Rain's hand into this fish tank, and then all of a sudden you realize that this whole scene has been taking place in the back of a moving truck. They're in like the trailer of a semi truck.
This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a pretty good reveal, and this car's just tearing up the road behind them, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's here!" And like smash cut to Racer X, the guy who is just existing in a completely different movie than everybody else. Like, everything he does is so extreme and hardcore. He's just like unmercifully kicking the shit out of people. His cars are out, like they have Gatling guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Other people are throwing beehives at each other, and he's just like out for blood at every instant.
It's like this movie is like Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, and then there's a side James Bond movie that just like interrupts every once in a while, and Racer X is the James Bond character who's like the ultimate badass.
It's kind of like Cars 2.
He's
too many times I bring up
secret
Cars on this podcast.
So
eventually we'll do Cars, and I can shut up.
Oh, I'm looking forward
Free
to
me
that
from
one.
this prison.
It'll be good.
So, Racer X, he springs Rain. Toga-Kon. Rain's character, he's playing Toga-Kon, who's a member of another racer. I didn't catch his first name, but they're another racing family.
Big time racing family who has some kind of stakes in like
Togo-Kon.
Yeah.
like energy racing. Like they own like the energy cells. I don't even know what this complicated plan is that Royalton has to work with the Toga-Kon family and.
So while all the Speed Racer stuff is going on, there's backdoor dealings with Royalton, and I think what's happening is Togo-Kon is courting Musha, who is played by
Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yeah, playing Musha, played
The
by
legendary.
Hiroyuki Sanada. Yeah,
The
he's
great.
great. And
John Wick, Scorpion from the latest Mortal Kombat movie. He was in the original The Ring.
Royal
etc.
Warriors.
he's in
I think he was
Sunshine. He's
in-
in every. He's in.
With Michelle Yeoh and
He was in that recent car commercial. That was pretty good.
That's right. Yeah. and so like the Musha Motors has this racing technology that only them and Royalton Industries have. So Royalton wants to buy them out, and in order to do that, he's striking up a deal with Toga-Kon to lose a race or something. I don't fully understand how it works, but if everything goes according to plan, Royalton will have a monopoly on racing technology X that makes cars go vroom vroom just a little bit better than everybody else. And so that's going on. Racer X, he's chatting with Rain, and Rain's like, I don't want to join you. You're this weird masked psycho who's I'm not going to turn my back on my family. So that's a thing that's going on. And then just smash cut to
he says you won't win. He gives him his card, right? But if you could still dial the phone when you're done, here's my number.
good line.
Yeah.
If you can still dial a phone. So then after that's all done, then we cut and there's some sweet romance going on at Lover's Point.
They're in a
Speed
flower
and Trixie.
garden with super saturated visuals, flowers everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. And Speed and Trixie are just kind of talking about the deal. What do you think about it, Speed? Do you want to do it? I don't know. It's kind of...
Yeah, this is a nice intimate moment where you do get to see a little more of Trixie's influence on Speed.
You can see they're actually fucking. I
Oh,
mean,
they're
we don't
fucking
see them
big time.
fuck, but like
Oh yeah. That's a little
it's there.
tantalizing hint they throw out. Like throughout the movie, they keep trying to smooch each other.
Yeah.
He's like,
And they
but
get
he's trying to
interrupted.
woo her
Yeah.
first. He's like, what do you need? You need a new igniter for your helicopter? How about a tire burn that spells out your name? And then they go in to kiss, and that's when that little fucker,
What a cock block.
Spritle, pops out
Oh.
of the trunk with a fucking chimp.
Well, the
Spritle, get out of here. Chim Chim, you can stay.
yeah.
He's
We don't-
already whacking off.
Trixie,
Okay,
you know I can't shoot unless Chim Chim's throwing his shit in my face.
Chim Chim got a head start. Let's get going.
They're having a nice little chat, and you don't know what Speed's going to do. Trixie's like, do you want to do it? Do you want to not want to do it? Do you want to do it? You know, she keeps like, what do you think about this? And Speed's like, yeah, I want to do this. And
I will say, just in this last scene, this was my first moment of genuine alarm regarding the chimpanzee. Because they open the trunk, and Spritzel and Chimp Chimp are in the trunk together, and then Speed's like, no, this ain't gonna fly, and he goes to close the trunk, and I was like, no, don't lock that child in the trunk with that chimpanzee.
the child was already locked in the trunk.
That's psychotic. That's almost for sure where that kid got big.
Yeah, that's where that happened. I think we pinpointed where the chimp ending
And they
injury.
beat the chimp with the car aerial.
I was worried about the dangers of a chimp, you know, working around people for most of it. I didn't even think about locking them in a trunk together, which they have no qualms
Yeah.
with.
This wouldn't be upsetting to a chimpanzee or a child.
We've got 7 chimps, but we've only got a couple of Spritzels.
Spritle.
I'm fine with Mitchell calling Spritle Spritzel.
I was actually thinking of calling him a different name each time.
Sprapsock.
Like Sprinkler. Like
I'm having a little white wine spritzel right now. As a matter of fact,
Speed Racer's younger
I
brother.
think your brother Spritzel and Stremtram are in the trunk. So, Speed turns down Royalton's deal, and here's where you see Royalton's true colors. That while Speed's like kind of declining everything, he talks about how his whole family lost faith in racing until one night him and Pops was watching a race.
It's hilarious because it's a contract negotiation, and all of a sudden Speed Racer just goes into his life story and goes into a monologue of and like
Dewey Cox.
yeah, Royalton sitting across from him, like kind of smiling and nodding. Speed Racer says, like, I would love to sign these, but it was real rough when my brother died, and I sat with Pop and we watched the race.
These, by the way,
racing.
are 5 contracts that they probably cut down like a redwood to print all the paper. They're like comically massive reams of paper.
These are Bible-sized tomes that he's placed in front of him.
2,000-page contract. And that's never acknowledged or anything. It was a really funny little detail where there's so
Movies
big.
full of funny details like that.
Yeah.
But
Cartoonish.
like Speed and his dad were watching this race, and it was shortly after his brother died, and they were both very depressed, and they just really got into the race together, and they both started cheering and yelling at the same points, and they were like, man, racing really is a religion. This is great. And this is the scene where they're like, Speed's like, racing is a religion to us, and
And
hate to say
that
but
race was Burns versus somebody else.
Yeah.
So he's a famous racer we meet
was
later.
it was like the 43 Grand Prix or something. There's the ultimate race in the Speed Racer world is the Grand Prix that everybody wants to win. There's this like mind-shattering moment where Royalton reveals to Speed Racer that these Grand Prix races that you love so much, they're all fixed.
all that matters is power and unassailable might of money.
Yeah,
He really
Fist. You won't place, kid. You won't even finish.
He really just lays it into him. He's like, you are living in a sugar-coated world, and none of this is real. All that matters is power. And
like this is the scene where they do the flash forwards. So while he's like arguing with Royalton, it's flash forwarding to him racing with
Fuji.
Royalton.
Yeah.
You don't see that in movies a lot. It's a really interesting technique.
It jumps forward, and Royalton's like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to race, and you're going to lose, and blah, blah, blah. And then, they cut to the race, and they cut back and forth, and apparently Speed's they're the racers that are going to lose the race, and then there's going to be some allegations, and they're going to be in legal troubles because some of their parts were faulty, and they caused an accident with some other racer or whatever, and this is happening, and then, and you think it's happening, and then it goes all the way back to the office, and it's just all in Speed's mind.
But then it turns Royalton still talking shit this
Yeah.
entire time. It's like a 10-minute cutaway where there's like a race, and Speed Racer crashes.
Yeah, everybody's like Pops like they have to shut down the racing shop. Everybody's sad and crying, and like you see, like
I'm cheering and clapping at this point in the movie. Like, it has 100% won me over. It's so fucking good how it frames this stuff.
yeah,
It's really hard to describe. Then Speed walks out of the office there, and he meets Burns, who is that famous racer that him and his dad saw win that famous race.
In the big 43 Grand Prix,
Yeah.
Burns was the
He's
big
played
winner.
by Richard Roundtree, I might add.
Shaft.
Famous blaxploitation actor. known as
Okay.
Shaft.
He's
He's a complicated man. No one understands him but his woman.
shut your mouth. Speed meets him. It's like it's like that kid meeting Mean Joe Green.
Yeah.
He's like,
Mr. Burns, can I ask you something? The 43 Prix, did you know you were going to win? And he goes, everybody thought me and Sickleton hated each other. Funny, ain't it? So he doesn't say,
That's
it's
his response.
ambiguous.
but it was fixed.
Yeah.
Like that's the implication of everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
If you don't say, no, I didn't cheat, that's pretty much an admission that you did cheat.
Depressing. It's depressing.
Yeah, and so it turns out that everything that we thought was just a flash forward actually did happen, and cut to the racer house. They're being sued. They lost the race, and they're all
Wait, that did happen?
It did happen.
It's so weird.
Okay.
Like the movie starts off doing flashbacks and present day, and then it switches into present day and flash forwards, which are actually present. Like it's just so seamless and like nonstop the way it's edited all together.
All while I was admiring this movie, I was like, I could see why critics and audiences hated it when it came out.
It's it's a vibe. Like if you're not on the same wavelength as it, then you're
Yeah.
not gonna like it. But if you can get on, because it is like anything that's hyper stylized, it can be pretty polarizing.
What?
But if you're with it, it's
Yeah.
a really fun movie. But if you're not digging it, then you're not gonna enjoy it at all.
Just like this podcast. I mean, we come with so much steez. Like, a lot of people are like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is my shit. I'm flicking my bean to this. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so hot.
It's like I'm driving a T108 racing car and going up on the sidewalk. T180.
Or a 108 even.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
A little
you're
more
into the vintage models, are you?
Outdated, but
So, Racer X is
The harbinger of boom
of boom. He's at the door.
I don't
Yeah.
want to step on your toes.
No, step on my toes.
Yeah, the harbinger of boom. In the last race, we find out that Racer X's name is the harbinger of boom, which is
I missed that.
up until now. I thought that's what I call my dookies.
So he's at the door, and Spritle freaks out, and then Dad lets him in. He's like, "Oh my God, harbinger of fucking boom is here!"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Go do it in the toilet, son."
Spritle, in the bathroom, not like Chim Chim. Chim Chim gets a pass because he's a monkey.
Yeah, paw
Ape.
Yes, thank you.
Shall never kill ape.
Bright eyes.
Are we ever going to cover a Planet of the Apes movie?
I think maybe they've
easily
been covered. They've been covered a lot.
Yeah.
That original fucking rules.
Yeah.
I love it.
Gordon Street. They blew up Gordon Street.
Child nested.
So Luke was saying, Racer X shows up at the racer's house, and with him is Inspector Detector. My
Yeah.
favorite name in the entire movie of names, outrageous names.
The Inspector.
The Inspector.
Inspector Detector.
I think I missed Inspector Detectors. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
It's another breakfast scene with the Racer family. You know, there's like several of these throughout the movie. The Racers are always together everywhere they go. They go to contract meetings together, and so the Racers are having breakfast. And
Do they go do their harbinger of booms together?
I assume so.
Everybody on the big toilet.
Like,
Okay, Paul.
If I'm not in the court of Louis XVI, it was a great honor to be his bathroom maid. So I assume there's something like that in the Racer family. But yeah, it's very strange to see Inspector Detector and Racer X darken their door for a little breakfast meeting.
Yeah. So they come in. Racer X is fucking serious as a heart attack, and he's being just saying like the racing world is rigged. You need to work with us. Apparently, he's works for some sort of racing agency. I can't remember what it is, but like the CBE or something like that.
Yeah,
They're the people who make sure there's no cheating in racing, and they're doing a shit job.
Yeah, there's so many characters and plot people in this movie. I kind of lost track of that.
You're fine.
And I was like, I'm fine.
Basically, they're just saying that like you need to.
It's cheating, and we're the good guys.
Yeah, and work with us, and we'll expose the bad guys. Mm-hmm.
This is an incredibly corrupt industry. The inspector reveals that Teijo Tokugawa has been working with them, and he's been being muscled into going a certain way with the British gangsters.
Yeah. So basically,
The plot is contrived.
they
or
for some reason.
convoluted. Not contrived, convoluted.
So what we find out is that in order to expose all these cheaters, which is Royalton Industries and all their ilk, they need to win the Grand Prix. They need to disrupt their plans by having a non-fixed winner win.
They have to do the Casa Cristo.
Yeah, because Speed can't. Since he lost the last race, he was disqualified from the Grand Prix, and the only qualifying race left, is the Casa Cristo, which is the race that Rex Racer died in.
Yeah.
So
And it's like a street race. It's not on like a set track. It's like a multiple day street race.
2 continents, 3 climate changes.
Sweet.
It's a cross-country race that goes all over the place.
So many climate changes.
So many climate changes.
Al Gore doesn't approve of this.
I don't think that there should be
2 more Casa Cristos and Manhattan will be underwater.
The
So
only
it's
reason
yeah.
you can drive in the Casa Cristo, you need to have a hybrid to drive in the Casa Cristo.
This is for a family that's religion is racing. This is like Sodom and Gomorrah, the Casa Cristo. This is like where Rex Racer died, and Pop Racer forbids Speed Racer from ever racing in this race. It's a no-go.
Yeah, he's very firm that he does not want to see it happen, and so Speed decides he's going to, without telling Pa no, that he's going to Sodom and be sodomized and sodomize others.
And Gomorrahized in Gomorrah. Trixie's, she's a really bad influence on Speed. She's like, why don't you just disobey your parents? We'll tell them we're going skiing. So they sneak off into the Casa Cristo, and the whole time Spritle and Chimp Chomp are looking to watch the race, and Pops is just walking in. He's like, Spritle! Turn off that TV. You're too pale. Go and mow the lawn. He's just like throwing down all the
It's
dad
even
talk.
like they're trying to look casual to Pop at first. So like Pop starts out mowing the lawn, and Chimp and Spritzel are just in the backyard. Use like George Hamilton. They've got like a aluminum sheets, and they're tanning themselves in the backyard, trying to look casual. Like we're not even interested in a race. Pop.
At one point, they're watching a German like nature show or something like that with a bunch of chimps on it, and Pop's like, "That's in German," and he's like, "Well, not the monkey parts."
Yeah, Chimp can understand.
So then Pops, he's like, oh, "I'm gonna go to the parts store to buy some parts," or whatever Pops does, and he leaves, and they immediately turn into the Casa Cristo race. And Pops, listeners at home, if you're waiting to like watch something or whatever, you wait at least a few minutes. You don't wait. You wait for them to be gone long enough to forget their keys or their wallet, like to realize that. Like this, he's young, but it's a real rookie move.
Be prepared to switch inputs at a moment's notice.
Now, before we started the race, though, we see Speed getting all these upgrades done to the car, too, right?
That's pretty
It's
cool.
like a very, like, Q and James Bond kind of sequence. It's like, here's the
yeah.
rockets, here's the bulletproof shield, here's these things that shoot out from your wheels that can,
Yeah.
like, take out the other guys. Gee, I wonder if, like, every single one of these crazy cool gadgets is going to get used in the upcoming event.
In
So,
a 30-second
course.
time span.
It's great.
Awesome.
I don't know if you two
That
watched.
gets me so fucking pumped.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
like-
it every time.
'Cause you can't wait to see buzzsaws come out of a car, and you know you're gonna get to do it.
This is the Racer X Institute, the CIB or whatever. This is their little upgrade to the Mach 5. They put buzzsaws in the front, shields on the tires, etc.
He can reinflate his tires and stuff. I don't know if you two watched the show or anything like that. Whenever I
Not
go to my
really.
grandparents' place, I'd walk across the highway to the movie store and like rent out. They had it was one season. They'd rent it out, and I just watched that. So I love that shit, and just the little nerd in me. You know, when I see the buzzsaws come out, that was like the main thing in the show. He'd like cut down trees and stuff. Like when they showed that, I just loved it. Like again, like what this movie does so well that, and one we'll get to, Dragon Ball does so poorly, is they are so true to the source material.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily matter if the movie is good. You can like make deviations, but like this is just a thing where all those gadgets get used in every episode. You just get so stoked when he's like, how's Speed going to get out of here? I don't know. He's going to use his buzzsaws to cut down a tree, and he's going to use
the
jump.
hydraulic thing where he jumps or whatever.
Yeah.
Again,
that
that sound
jump
effect,
over
that
this pit of lava or whatever.
That's the sound effect from the show. Like every time that came on, I'm like, oh, I love this shit.
It's
Vonn made the
honoring.
jerk off motion. As he said.
He premature ejaculated. Every time there
It was mature.
buzzsaws. Yeah, it's an agile car. It can do backflips. It can do side flips. It's got saws coming out of it.
The cars basically do kung fu in this movie.
It's pretty.
It's fucking sweet.
Yeah.
So the archways is the part right at the start, some kind of Egypt type place, and
Or
it has
they're
like
like
huge,
the mines of Moria or something like
a
that.
huge ancient temple, and they're driving through it, and it's all
Yeah.
these tight archways. and it's everybody going Mach 5 or whatever.
Yeah, it's like a billion Roman columns, and they're all racing through it.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's total Mario Kart.
It's Mario
level.
Kart for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and Snake Oiler is one of the main guys.
Yeah.
This actor, I think he just died this week.
did, aren't we?
Literally just died a couple days
Randomly,
ago.
I hadn't really heard of him,
We
but
didn't plan the episode around this.
No,
yeah. So Christian Oliver is Snake Oiler, and
he's like an Elvis bad guy kind of thing. Like he's got a big like pompadour hair. Dude.
yeah, kind of is like Sylvester Stallone in Death Race 2000.
He's the Sha-Na-Na racing team. You have like
Yeah.
a barbarian racing team where like before the race starts, you show
Yeah.
Royalton just like bribing everybody. Like they give Snake Oiler they give the girl racing team a bunch of diamonds. They give this like barbarian thing a bunch of furs.
and it's kind of like the Warriors.
Everybody's
For
got
racing,
their gimmick. Yeah.
like
I
there's the
love
Viking
that.
racing team and the Pink Lady racing team.
I know we
Yeah.
glossed over all these details. They're so fucking cool of how they show all the backstories of the different
Yes.
racers.
Yeah, while everything's going on, it's just seamlessly, just kind of like giving
It's
you all
so
the backstory of
seamless,
everybody,
yeah.
or enough that you need to know. Like these racers that you're seeing being given these gold chests filled with doubloons or whatever, they're out to get Speed Racer. They don't want Speed Racer
They
to
love
qualify.
gold or whatever.
Yeah, it's just nonstop. It's a sight to behold.
Yeah, so Christian Oliver has one of my favorite lines in the movie. Let's pinch these turds off. R.I.P.
All right.
I hope they put that on his Oscar reel
he's
in
on-
memoriam.
You think he's going on the Oscar reel? I don't know.
Let's pinch these turds off. Just like end the in memoriam reel.
And just like cut to some
Yeah.
other movie that he's in where he's just in this gigantic scene filled with like extras going off to work. We're like, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so everybody's out to get Speed. And so they're all trying to get him, and they're driving through like sand dunes on top of sand dunes and through the desert, and it's just total mayhem. Like I made some reference earlier about somebody throwing a beehive. Like somebody throws a hive filled
Yes.
with angry bees or hornets or something at the Mach 5.
Yeah.
People are trying to pop his tires. This like barbarian guy he's like the main antagonist in this part of it. He's just like ruthlessly trying to attack him and like going after him, and it's Speed, Racer X, and Toga Khan together, and they're all kind of like trying to fend everybody off. And
They're racing for the Togagon family right now.
Yes.
Like, there's a 3-man race team. You know, Speed Racers battling with like the Pink Ladies race team, whatever they're called.
yeah,
And
they're trying to pop his tires, and you
They're
get to
doing
see
like
his tire shields pop out.
I
It's
have
like
a note. I have a note saying Crom. Does anybody
yeah.
know what that is?
yeah.
Is that one of the barbarian guys?
The Viking guys at one point. Yeah. When one of the Viking racers is gonna die, he like yells out "Crom," which is the god worshipped by Conan the Barbarian. For those who don't know,
Very good. I didn't know. That's
I
great.
haven't seen that movie in a minute. I'm not up on that lore. Stay tuned.
It's a total battle royale.
yeah, it's like a fencing
Yeah.
match when like a Speed Racer's tire defense shield is going up against the Pink Lady's tire popping mechanism, and like there's these arms going out of the tires, and they're fencing against each other. Like that's how involved this race can get.
Yeah, there's robot arms battling each other, and I'm just on the edge of my seat.
It's kung fu with cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up.
They're doing backflips. The guy who worships Kron, he gets taken out by Racer X. Like Racer X does like a sort of side flip over top of his car, and he just like clocks him
Yeah.
in the face and knocks him out, and that's how that guy's taken out of the race. It's a 2-day race.
Yeah.
They make
it
their
cuts to them having dinner.
Yeah,
And Yoga Khan isn't totally pleased with X and Speed Racer's performance. And Speed is like, is Racer X really my brother? I don't know.
Yeah, he thinks he must be. There's a couple of little breadcrumbs throughout. Racer X didn't appear until 2 years after Rex Racer died, so the timing works out, and when Speed Racer races with Racer X, it's just like there's a familial connection between them, and they just there's just like it was meant to be. They're meant to race together.
But Racer X, he takes his mask off, and you find out that it's Matthew Fox, not the actor who played. I didn't write his name down, but there was a different actor playing Racer X. Excuse me. There was a different actor playing Rex Racer. These aren't the same people.
Could be different.
And Matthew Fox
It's
taking his
different
masks
actor.
off confirms that. Yeah. There's no way that
Fair enough.
No technology exists that could make that other guy, Rex Racer, look like Racer X.
There's no well-known technology.
No.
So the Racer family, I guess Pa Racer had found out that Speed was in the Casa Cristo, and the Racer family arrived, as they do. They always stick together.
Yeah, Pops Racer finally watched Chim Chim and Spritzel. He saw what they were watching, and he saw that Speed Racer was racing in the Casa Crista, and he's like, okay, well, I forbid this, but even though it's going on, I'm we racers are tight. I'm going to go down there with the whole family. We're going to meet them in the hotel room and give them our support. It's really beautiful.
I gotta take a shit. Where's Speed?
I can't make boom on my own. So the whole family goes to bed in this hotel, and it's a pretty opulent place, as you'd expect.
It's good. And then
ninjas.
Ninja Attack, which is
Don't you
classic.
mean nonjas?
Nonja. Good luck.
That's what a ninja.
Paul Racer's like, kicks the shit out of a bunch of them. He's like, more like a nanja.
Yeah. After he throws one out of a window. So there's a ninja
Yeah.
attack. They're doing all their sweet ninja tricks. Like they're dripping poison down
Yeah.
the string. They get Toga-Con. They think they're going to get Racer X. They blow their blowguns at a pillow, and then Racer X is standing behind him, and he just brutally kicks the shit out of this person. He's like breaking bones, and in the meanwhile, like 2 rooms over, wherever the Racer family is, there's like boink sound effects, and like Pops lifts a ninja over his head and spins him around, and like
It's like a
his
pizza
car
pie.
keys and ninja stars are flying at like 2
Yeah.
completely different movies. Like
It's all impressively staged, though, because you remember these are the sisters that made the Matrix movies.
Yeah.
they know what
They know
makes a
how to
good-
fucking shoot action.
Pops is like he has the fighting style of like a Zangief or something.
Well,
where
they zoom
he-
in on his ring and they find out that he's a an old wrestling champion, and the ninja's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's a
You just kick
big
the
tough
shit
guy.
out of people.
Oh yeah. Get someone in one of those rear naked chokes and
Oh
it's
yeah,
all
he's
over.
doing body slams, and what I love though is that the entire Racer family is throwing down. Like Spritle and Chim Chim are they're attacking, and like
Yeah.
Speed's like throwing punches and stuff. Trixie's like
Chim Chim mutilates a guy's genitals, and he goes and
He does it, though.
he mutilates a man's face, and
That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, the chimp alone would kill all these ninjas.
that's the
Nonjas.
deterrent you need.
I didn't want any ad libs in this movie, but I'll allow it this time.
go, Jim Jim.
Kill. The ninjas didn't originally have masks, but all their faces were ripped off, so they put them on. They used those same actors. They were game to come back for another day of shooting.
So Toga-Khan's been poisoned with some sort of narcolepsy drug or something. It makes him sleepy.
It
and
makes him too
tired.
drowsy to drive,
Yeah.
and it'll wear off in
Pretty
time.
weak ass drug.
Yeah, I guess they don't want to kill them because like
they
Toga-Khan's
want
a big
PG
family. They got money, they
13.
have power. I'm sure they don't give a shit about killing the Racer family, but you
Yeah,
can't
this-
operate
this-
heavy machinery, let alone a T-180.
And so Royalton has cleverly. It's a very complex plan. So
Well, these are the machinations of industry. I don't
Yeah.
expect you to understand
No.
them or any of us. They're all beyond us. Because
I'm not an industrialist.
Atlas shrugged me right off his shoulders.
I just walk around chomping a cigar. I don't know anything about business. I do it for the looks, like Will Smith.
I pretend to be a rich guy at parties. Or at least I'd like to.
So the ninja attack happens, and Toga-Khan cannot race. He's in no shape to drive a car. So what are they going to do? Cut to the next day. The Toga-Khan car is driving. Who's driving it? She pulls her face mask up, and Trixie's in the race.
Yay.
Yay! And she's a good
Something
driver.
to do.
Yeah. Before she was the spotter in the race, so she's flying around in a helicopter, and she's just kind of
Yeah.
telling Speed everything that's going on, and just like, "Look out, Speed! They're coming at you with dust clouds and things like that." And Christina Ricci's playing all that stuff pitch perfectly. But now she's in the race, and
Kicking ass.
she's kicking ass, and they're a good team. Trixie, Speed, and Racer X are doing really well today.
Yeah, and this is the kind of race where you need a helicopter team to help you out. Like after Trixie's helping them out, Sparky, another member of the Racer family.
We haven't talked about Sparky yet.
Sparky is he's not going to get the most attention out of any of the Racer family. He's not as exciting as Speed. He's not as technically gifted as Pops. He's not as mischievous as Spritzel.
He's got heart and he loves milk.
Yeah, that's his thing.
So
I already forget Sparky.
he's just he's the Sparky's the racer.
Oh, yeah,
he's their mechanic who also
Yeah, he's
lives
not
with them. I think.
in the family though, is he?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think he's their mechanic. Yeah.
The-
Sparky's a character.
I think, yeah. I was
Again, he takes a shit with the rest of the racer family. He's
I was looking. I never.
In this house, we shit on my toilet.
I never got the impression he was part of the Racer family, but then I was looking at some of the anime stuff before you guys came here, and they called him Sparky Racer. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe he is.
They don't really go into that at all in the movie. He's just around. If he has a family...
Yeah, he doesn't resemble the rest of the family.
He has a different accent. He's Australian.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
True. Yeah, Sparky's the spotter now, and they're going into a blind zone. So this whole race, of course, is widely broadcast. Everybody in the world is watching it. And since the Casa Cristo is a cross-country race, there's a few areas where you can't get a camera. There's some tricky passes, and there's things like that in the mountains. And so they go into a place where there's no cameras, and the Togacon team pulls off to a side, and here's what they're going to do, the switcheroo. They're going to put Togacon back in the car. He's got his motor skills back, or it's been long enough, and Trixie's getting out of the car, and it's an ambush. And what's that guy's name? Snake Coiler?
Yeah, or a Snake Oiler.
Snake Oiler, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Snake Oiler. So
They
they
dropped a real Snake Coiler on the track for the other.
In my house, we make snake coilers into one coil.
Snake Coiler is a religion in my house.
So yeah, they're
you have a Snake Coiler as a family before every meal.
so stupid.
Yeah. Rest in peace.
Oh man, I mean it. That's tragedy.
Yeah. So it's an ambush. I didn't catch. Did anybody catch the name of these British mobsters? Whoever they are, they show up again.
They're just like highly British. I don't know if they're ever named, but they're highly British.
Yeah, the more British you are, the worse you are. You're a bad guy if you're very, very British.
Royalton is very British.
Their teeth are all fucked up. They're saluting to a flag of Queen Victoria. It doesn't make sense. But.
It's weird how the movie just stops for a full 10 seconds to show them do that. And
They sing "God Save the Queen."
And they show them just purposely walking past a dentist office.
Yeah. Quite an evil act.
No, thank you.
Brushing and floss, not before my 35th year. So, anyways, it's an ambush, and there's another pretty awesome fight where, the Racer family has to throw down. Pops is doing more of his wrestling moves. Racer X is like breaking necks and shooting people's kneecaps out and things like that.
The chimp throws some shit or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, what does he throw?
A monkey cookie?
A monkey cookie.
That's
that
shit.
shit?
That's
yeah.
shit. Yeah.
It was a cute euphemism for the movie, but it's monkey shit.
They make Chimp seem so weak, but he should just be ripping and tearing.
Yeah.
It should be like Doom Eternal. He should just be tearing guys apart.
It's the next movie where we get to see an enraged monkey tear people apart.
It's a big fun brawl here anyway.
I appreciate that they actually put a chimp in a movie and had them throw a turd, because that never happens.
That's
Usually people try to do it classy. They say, if you watch Every Which Way But Loose, which I know is an orangutan, but there's no turds anywhere. And you're telling me that living with scuzzy bachelor Clint Eastwood, he's not throwing a deuce around sometime? I'm not buying it.
Orangutan is a more classy monkey than the chimpanzee.
I put kitty litter in the kitchen sink.
Barbarian
You
brother.
can use that as a litter box.
Clyde, why don't you take a dookie? Clyde, it's time for my harbinger of boom. Come and hold my hand while I dookie.
Racer Clyde.
So it's me. I got Paul Walter Hauser over here. Richard Jewell.
Yeah.
We're going to Dookie, Clyde.
It doesn't get much more intimate than
Paul Walter Hauser can't hold it much longer. You better get over here, Clyde.
When he calls, he means business.
when you have two actors like Clyde and Clint Eastwood that you want in the same movie. They better damn well be comfortable watching each other's shit if they're going to be that close together in a performance.
It's in my contract. But this time we're putting the monkey on screen.
It's always in my contract, but this time we have a monkey.
I'm not messing around, Clyde number 7. What do you think happened to Clyde's numbers 1 through 6?
Now watch. Do you see?
He's talking to a chair the whole time.
Well, President Clyde, you could see that all these immigrants don't want to come in the country.
The ambush fails, so they go and they try to beat them up as best as they can, but they can't overcome the Racer family, and so they beat them up. But meanwhile, Snake Oiler and his team have breezed past, and the announcers are very surprised at this because when they went into the mountain pass, the Togukon team was well ahead, but now they're behind, and everybody's worried because this is where Rex Racer died, in these very ice caves that they're about to drive through. And so, a second later, the Togukon team comes blazing out of the cave, and everybody loses their minds, but they still need to get ahead of the Snake Coiler.
Yeah, the Togukon team has fallen behind a team that they were previously in front of while they were having their little mischief in the ice cavern area.
Mm-hmm. But so now
Snake trips Racer off a cliff.
Yeah.
And this is like a breathtakingly cool sequence.
Yeah, it's like during this part, there's like people are popping their car tires up on top of other people's cars, and you think that somebody's gonna get their head just totally shredded to pieces by this.
Oh,
he's holding his car wheel like on top of someone's head, like you're holding a fist to punch somebody or something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, like Snake Oiler specifically threatens Trixie's life by putting his tire by her face in this
Trixie's
contest.
Face. Yeah,
and
he's gonna do a death proof on her.
Yeah. And Speed Racer doesn't cotton too kindly to that, so he gets in a position with Snake Oiler where he does the exact same thing and punishes him for what he's done to Trixie and just like holds his tire right close to Snake Oiler's face, and he's like, "I'm gonna burn your face off." But I think he just like lets him go mercifully by like pushing him off a cliff or something. Yeah.
So before he pushes him off the cliff, Snake Oiler pushes Speed Racer off a cliff, and he is in like a total free fall, and then he like. This car, it's outfitted with spike tires, so he just starts driving down the side of a mountain, jumps across the gorge to the other side of the mountain.
Uses the jump tech that we saw set up earlier.
Yeah, and it works so well. It's such great
crazy.
payoff. Oh. And then he comes out ahead, or he comes up, like right neck and neck. Like,
yeah.
It's awesome. Everybody, again, loses their mind. Nobody's seen anybody drive a car like Speed Racer, and to be frank, I've never seen anybody drive a car like this in a movie ever. Yeah. It's fucking awesome.
Love Speed Racer.
Like you said, the races in this fight are a lot like a kung fu fight where you have no goddamn idea what someone's going to pull out of their bag of tricks, and there's back flips and there's front flips, and
totally.
It actually is a world where you could be like, this guy with this level of skill is so much more skilled than everybody else, where it's like, he could be in last place and all of a sudden karate fight his way to first place in a car fight.
As this is happening, Speed kind of like has some tricks, and he knocks Snake Oiler clear off a mountain. And like early on in the first race, when somebody's about to die, you see that their car envelops them in this big balloon or something like that. So you kind of know that these racers aren't actually dying. So his car, you see, goes flying off a cliff and explodes, and he just kind of floats off on his little balloon to go cry in the losers' table or wherever they go.
Yeah.
No milk for him.
It's a racer's world.
And Togukon wins it.
You have to win to drink milk.
That's right. This is dystopia.
Ice cold milk. He probably gets to drink some like day-old fermented goat's milk or something, but he doesn't get that ice cold milk.
Hot buttermilk.
Togukon wins. Everybody loses their mind. They're all celebrating. And this is where you find out that Toga-Con was actually playing Speed and Racer X so they could... I don't fully understand it. Of course it was the Toga-Con.
I mean, it wasn't really... Yeah.
Man,
It's a surprise.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you find it's convoluted, but what matters is that Speed doesn't get a chance to compete in the Grand Prix. But later that night, Toga-Con's sister, who I didn't catch her name, she shows up at the racer house and gives him an official invitation, which kind of looks like something I could just print off my printer at home. But apparently that's enough to get you into the Grand Prix race.
It's part of the immutable laws of racing. If you have a Grand Prix ticket, if you participated in a team, as Speed Racer did, participating with the Tokugawa team, then you can't lawyer rules this shit.
Like water rolls downhill, a person with an invitation from the winning team races in the Grand Prix.
The winning ticket passes down. Tokugawa doesn't want to race. It goes down to Speed Racer.
That's right. And nobody's happy about this.
And Speed has another heart-to-heart with his dad around here, too. And this is one of, 3 or 4 different, heart-to-heart scenes that we get in this movie.
Yeah.
They all
that are really sweet, and they land. He had one with his mom.
Yeah. I mean, in a sense, the entire movie is a heart-to-heart moment because everyone plays it so unironically and
the drama is so high.
Yeah.
But the stakes are pretty small. It's...
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just that can the scrappy underdog, can David beat Goliath? That's really what it is.
Yeah.
And it's very simple, but it's done really effectively. And yeah, there are so many great heart-to-heart scenes. We didn't talk about it earlier, but yeah, Susan Sarandon just pours out her well of emotion onto him. It's
oh yeah.
When I see you race, it's like art. It's like poetry.
Yeah. She gives him the Royalton treatment because earlier when Royalton was trying to seduce him, he was like... when you race, it's like art, Speed. That's why I think you should race for my team. But then later when Susan Sarandon is giving him the pitch to stay true to his heart, she gives him almost the same pitch. When you race, it's like art. And sometimes I can't look at it, but it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're like a Picasso.
And did this make you cry more than Jack Frost?
No. No. I didn't cry once. I did actually make. Well, yeah. I mean, I did. I jerked off, but not more than Jack Frost.
After Speed loses, there's this great scene where he's just driving around screaming like a maniac.
Yeah, blowing off steam.
Yeah, as you do, as these car people do. If they've got to blow off steam, they just spin their tires and. Racer X comes. They have this. They have a bit of a heart-to-heart where Racer X is being basically the car, it's a breathing thing. You need to listen to it. You are a better driver than I've ever seen in my life. I love you like a brother. Not that I'm your brother, but I love you like a brother. And
it's a Star Wars thing, right? Where Obi-Wan's Force Ghost is Luke, put the targeting mechanism away.
Yeah.
You just have to tap into the machine here, and if you listen to the rumble of the Mach 5, you'll understand how to make it work again.
Yeah, and Speed comes back to the house, and
X reveals he's not Rex.
Right,
that's where he takes off his mask,
and it's nice. It's a touching moment, and Speed gets a little bit of that juice. One of the things that he's been fighting the entire time. He's always lived in his brother's shadow, and through all of this, he's kind of getting what he needs to step out from behind it and be his own racer. And it's really nice and it's very touching. And he goes home and he finds out that he does get a chance. They got the golden ticket. They can go to the chocolate factory and win the Grand Prix. But the Mach 5 was destroyed in the last race, so they need to build a car in less than 2 days.
This is the...
Yeah. How fast did Royalton say he could build one at that tin can with
36 hours.
Machines? We'll do it in 32. Let's go!
This is the Rocky IV montage moment where Rocky is training by running up a mountain and Ivan Drago is being injected with steroids and stuff. You've got Royalton building his car with all the modern conveniences of industry going into it. And then you've got the Racer family building their car with handcrafted love and building
Yeah,
like a
it's totally
machine.
Rocky
that can-
IV.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Smacking
got their-
meat, running through snow.
Yeah.
Smacking meat. That's just chim.
I have a note that just says Bernoulli Converginator.
That's like the gadget that Royalton
Yeah.
wants to get the monopoly on, and Pop's like, Bernoulli
Yeah,
Converginator.
yeah.
If you want some real beef, you go for a Bernoulli or something like that.
They had
I
their.
love stuff like that. The
It's the what's the fucking thing in Back to the Future?
The
The flux
flux
capacitor. Yeah.
but this is but that's not real. The real thing is the bologna converter.
Is that real?
It slices
Of
deli
course.
meat. It turns a solid log of bologna into a log of sliced bologna in 5 seconds.
Maybe I can find some use for that when Paul Walter Hauser comes by.
Clyde, get the bologna converter. Hauser's coming over tonight.
So, now driving in the 40th and final position, Racer Motors' Speed Racer.
Oh, everybody loses their minds. Burns is one of the announcers now. And it's like, whoa, my eyes must be deceiving me. Is that Speed Racer? And Royalton is losing his mind. He bursts into the locker room and he's saying that, like, we have to stop this. This is against the rules. And Inspector Detector, he's like, I know the rules. I know the handbook. Back to front. This is totally allowed.
Yeah.
If you want to stop this, we'll stop the whole race until we can,
There's
take
a
it to court
rules
or something
lawyer
like that.
moment.
He's
Yeah.
the maddest British guy I've seen since I saw some clips of British people being outraged that they changed the wrapping on Quality Street chocolates. They're not as shiny anymore because they're recyclable paper instead of the plastic wrappings. This is not acceptable for my Christmas gatherings.
He reminded me of like a Christopher
They're mad.
Hitchens. Not he doesn't have
looks
the
like
sa-
Hitch.
He doesn't have the same politics as a Hitch necessarily, but he has the same oratory skills.
This guy, don't know if I wrote it. Doesn't matter. He was
okay.
really good too.
Yeah,
Like,
he's good.
he's menace. He's
He does the job really well.
He's got the sweet and he's got the sour. He plays both sides of that
Yeah,
sandwich meat. No, what's a sweet and sour? Pork.
Neapolitan
Well.
ice cream.
Sure. He's got the chocolate. He's got the vanilla. He's got the chocolate. Wait,
Sure.
there's not two chocolates.
I'm eating out the center of him like I would.
His creamy nougat.
I got nothing.
Nipple pussy.
half whole.
So Speed's in the race, everybody's losing their mind, and everybody is out to get him. And we didn't mention him earlier, but when Speed was getting his first little tour of Royalton Industries, he met this hotshot racer who's won the Grand Prix a few times, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and Royalton's giving him a spear hook, which is illegal. Like, it's like, it's a...
It's like a grappling hook. It goes underneath the chassis of the car and grabs onto them.
yeah, I don't see how a spear hook would... I can see how it would screw somebody else over, but I don't see how it doesn't screw the driver who's using it over, because then you're stuck to that other car.
It
I
might
think
be,
it has it's independently controllable, maybe.
Oh, so you can just kind of like push him off a cliff or...
and
Yeah,
I
smash
noticed
into a
spike.
wall.
like people deploy it in a kamikaze moment where they're like no longer certain they can win, but they just want to fuck their opponent over, so they'll use the spear hook. And this happened to Speed Racer earlier in the movie, I think, too, where he got spear hooked and he ended up in this death spiral with another car where he just went off the edge of a cliff, and that's why he lost a race.
Oh, and Fuji
there
probably.
is previous stakes with the spear hook. This is Spritzel earlier in the movie says spear hooks are something you gotta watch out for.
And Spritzel knows. Mm-hmm. And so the guy's like, I don't need no stinking spear hook to beat Speed Racer. And then Royalton's like, just take it anyway. So the
$1 million to anybody who beats Speed Racer.
there's a bounty on his head. Like, everybody's out to get Speed. Like, if you thought everybody was crooked in the last race, they're just as crooked as they are.
It's like me
It's a
playing my
crooked-
family in Mario Kart. Everybody ganged up on me every fucking time.
Anybody but Luke. Anybody
Yeah.
but Luke.
And they're in first place getting lightning and red shells, and I'm fucking sitting in the back just getting pummeled.
So it's a par for the course race. It's normal stakes.
Yeah, this race isn't as... It's pretty batshit insane because at one point they go through a spike tunnel, kind of like in Sonic 2 or whatever. But like, it's not as crazy as the last race, but the emotional stakes have never been higher. Mm-hmm. This is where it's all coming down.
Visually, this race becomes more crazy.
Yes,
I think.
Speed also had a moment with Pop where he's like, just to let you know, all these Grand Prix races, they're fake. Like the outcomes are predetermined.
Yeah, and Pops looks at him like he just told him the Easter Bunny doesn't exist.
Yeah,
like he just becomes immediately despondent. And he's just.
And then immediately, like right after, is when Tokugawa's sister came into the room and gave him the ticket, and like Pop was like, "Oh, you really think it's fake? Why don't you go in there and enlist?" So,
No, Pops, you don't understand. They're like shooting at me and throwing beehives and spearhooking me. This shit is crooked. You just build the cars. I need to race them. People are out for blood.
you're signing me up for my death warrant.
But so Speed, he's got a death wish and he's driven. He's driven and he's
Did
never.
someone say death wish?
Hey, cut to 5 minutes of death wish riffing.
To Bronson. I'm an architect.
Paul Crency, architect.
So Speed.
Wait, did we do death wish? No, we
No,
didn't.
it's
on
talk
the
about
list.
cursing.
It's on the list.
So the race begins. Everybody's out to get him. They're they're ramming him. Like Speed can barely get off the starting block without people just crashing into him and ramming him. And he's pulling out every trick in the book. He's flipping his car left and right and forwards and back. And he's got lefts and he's got rights and he's got ups and downs and middles. And he's dipping and dodging and diving and he's besting everybody who's in his way. And then now he's toe to toe with that guy, the guy who's like the Hall of Famer. And he's going to win. And the guy's ego is just eating away at him. And he decides that he's going to use the spear hook. So now Speed's trapped. They're linked together. And if they're going to hell tonight. And they're going to feast with Satan together at his table.
But Speed's a genius. While they're racing, he's like clocking all the cameras on the track. And he's like, I'm being spear hooked. It's an illegal maneuver. But if I position myself just right so the cameras shoot me in a certain way, they'll see the spear hook. So he like cleverly plans to like show that the other guy's cheating.
Mm-hmm. And the camera catches it, and then the car breaks away. It's really smart, and everybody loses their shit. And people are like, Royalton Raceways is cheating, and they're ruined.
Yeah, all these guys, like the public at large, didn't realize this is the most corrupt industry in the history of industry.
Well, like, if you think about it, like Pops Racer is the biggest racing fan ever, and if he doesn't realize that it's hooked, like what is like John Q. Public think
true.
about it? But like the spear hook, like. They get it. Everybody loses their mind, but the Mach 6 is a little banged up now, and it won't start. It's been jostled too much, and it won't turn over, and Speed doesn't know why. Pops knows why, but Speed doesn't. And this is kind of the emotional climax where he needs to listen to himself and listen to the car because the car is a living, breathing thing.
That's
and
right.
He searches deep inside, and he knows that he has to like jiggle the keys a little bit. And Luke's making the jerk off motion while he does his car sound.
Give it a little.
And we all are. We love this.
You got to give it a bit of fuel.
And so he searches within himself, and he finds the problem, and he turns the car over, and it's in fucking overdrive, and he just blitzes past every single person.
Awesome. Oh man.
And while this is happening, it's like all of the heart-to-hearts, like little bits and pieces are just like happening, and like
Oh, yeah.
you see Mum be like, when I see you race, it's like painting. He blows past like 5 or 6 people, and Racer X is like, you need to understand that like you're driven, and he like blows past like another 5 people, and it's the emotional payoff works way better than any movie like this. Like if on the surface, it shouldn't work as well as it does.
Totally. That's what I even had in here. The emotional beats are working as fuck.
Yeah.
It's like Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 64. There's like a big downswing, and he just like hits it at super high speed, and he's like flying down the fucking track.
Oh,
And the
yeah.
visuals just go crazy and crazy and crazy. And I was like, oh man, I would watch this on mushrooms. That'd be super sweet. But even without mushrooms, it's like hitting me.
Yeah.
It's so
it
good.
It's
I
great.
I don't know if we've done enough to describe how insane these tracks are throughout the movie, but they are straight up like roller.
It's like F1 or not F1, F0.
F-Zero.
F-Zero
Yeah.
GX, the hardest game ever. one of my favorite games of all time. It's like that, and you just get that pure fucking adrenaline.
Yeah.
You have to be so perfect. You're going 1,000 miles an hour.
It's like a roller coaster where there's a 50% chance you might die if you take the roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster where there might just be a gap in the track and you have to jump across it at some
It's-
point.
it's
The
a
roller
roller
coaster goes this fast.
It's a roller coaster where everybody is actively trying to murder
Yeah,
you.
it's more like a roller coaster than a real race because there's just like sheer vertical drops and stuff like that. Like,
We see,
Speed wins.
Speed
He
wins.
and it's a spectacular fashion.
Burns, the old racer guy. He's like, it's a
Yeah.
whole new world. He like throws off his headset. He's all happy and everything. Royalton's losing it. He smashes his ice sculpture.
oh yeah,
That's so funny. Actually, yeah. Royalton's, while the whole race is going on, Royalton has like this huge caviar-laden feast with like a big ice sculpture of a race car, and everybody's just like dining in their dimly lit but palatial banquet room or
Yeah,
whatever.
he just goes Charles Foster Kane and just wrecks the whole place.
and like throughout Sadako, like the mysterious Japanese businessman, is like at the beginning of the race. They're like shaking hands, like they're friends. And then, like, the race is going better in Speed's favor, and Sadako is, like, giving a mysterious look to Royalton. And then at the end, they're, like, giving a parting ways look.
Yeah,
where-
Musha just shakes his head.
yeah.
Hiroyuki Sanada, like, you got this great Japanese actor in this
Mm-hmm.
movie, and he has, like, maybe one line. He just
Yeah.
mostly just looks at people with, like, either approval or disappointment.
He
That's okay.
fills his role perfectly.
There's just a lot of actors in this movie.
so many. The
It's a
Wachowskis have always
Big
used,
international
or at least
cast.
in the Matrix movies, anyways. I haven't seen Bound, but like they use diverse casts. They use people from all walks of
Yeah.
life and from different places.
Yeah.
and, it's
and
good.
we didn't-
Richard Roundtree, like, come on.
Was it June Park? Was that the actor who
Yeah.
was only in these two movies?
He's
You're
like some other
June
racer.
Park is one of the racers in
Yeah.
this movie.
So if you wanted to...
He's another Korean pop star, I think.
and he's only been in two movies, right?
Yeah, and the
Dragonball
other one-
Evolution and Speed Racer. So
We're covering June Park's entire filmography today.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So, Speed Racer wins the race, and in spectacular fashion, everybody loses their mind. Trixie runs up, and they have a big smooch, and everything stops dead. So Spritle and Chim Chim can cock block them one more time.
this was like one of the little hints Speed Racer dropped earlier. He was like, well, maybe I could smooch you, Trixie, in front of a bunch of flash bulbs, and that would be like the ultimate romantic gesture. And so they're kind of getting it here.
Yeah.
Where, like, actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, the flash bulbs are actually in heart shapes.
I didn't notice that. That's a nice
It's very
feature.
romantic.
It's a nice little bit.
So many cool things in this movie. But yeah, that last bit where you get they're about to kiss, and this is where Rachel and I really groaned. We're like, oh, like it almost ruined the whole movie for us. They're about to kiss, and then the screen freezes, and Spritle and Chim Chim pop up, and he goes, "Warning, the following image may be sensitive for the uninoculated or cootie-sensitive viewers."
I totally forgot about that.
It's bad. It's. I don't know.
Just let the moment play out.
I know we've been effusively praising this movie the entire time. That was fucking
It's bad.
corny as hell.
It was in character with Spretzel and Chimp Chimp's characters, but
I'm a cootie-sensitive viewer, too.
You're right. More movies should have this.
yeah.
You know about Gen Z, they can't stand cooties in their movies.
I wasn't going to make a big deal out of this, but I watched this movie without watching that warning, and I caught cooties. So,
You didn't tell us before we came into the studio?
yeah. So,
All right, I'm not fucking
Thank you for
around.
listening to the last episode of High and Low.
I have trouble.
We can't be friends with you anymore, Mitchell.
I can't breathe so good anymore.
That's why you've been James Gandolfini breathing all day.
I don't know. Separate incidents.
Severe cootie infection. So that's Speed Racer.
That's it. Royalty, you get a little clip where Royalton's going to jail. You get the credits, and Chim Chim's driving a car and dancing. You get a dancing chimp, and everybody leaves the theater happy.
You get the full breakdown of Royalton's misfortunes. It's like Royalton indicted, Royalton In court, there's like swirling newspapers telling you this.
Royalton, sodomized.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's a step too far.
Royalton hung in his cell. What?
Reports say there was nothing on the camera footage and the cell was locked from the inside.
Royalton didn't kill himself.
Hashtag. And that's Speed Racer.
Yeah, and only like 5,000 animals were harmed and 12 extras had their faces ripped off. But aside from that, it was a really nice time at the movies. Loved it so much.
Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I don't know what's going on.
None of us know what's going on. That was Mitchell's TED
Yeah,
Talk on the
that was
Dragon
the
Ball
extent
manga.
of what I know is going on. Yamcha's different.
Yeah, this movie was made in 2009.
Directed by James Wong.
Yeah, James Wong. He
Who
did
Final Destination?
Yeah, he has a bit of cachet. Like he's done some movies. He did Saw. I think.
No, that's James Wan.
Oh shit.
James Wan is a better director.
Oh, sorry. The One. He did The One with Jet Li.
Yeah.
Not great, but big movie. This guy's done
Sure.
some big movies and
Worked
this
with
was-
real martial arts actors.
Yeah, and this was kind of like the last. This movie wasn't that big, but this is kind of like his last big hurrah. I think the last thing he's known for.
Last paycheck.
Just got the boot out of Hollywood.
Oh,
Yeah.
this movie cost $35 million. There,
Good
$30
God.
million thereabouts. This is a little segment on the show called "Would You Believe?" Would you believe that most of this movie was shot in an abandoned denim factory?
Yes. Yes, I would believe that.
It's not on location in an unknown world.
No, in fact, it's rarely outdoors. Chow Yun-fat and James Marsters were promised that they were going to come on to like $100 million blockbuster, and that's the only reason they agreed to do this. When they showed up, found out the budget was $30 million, and it would be primarily shot in an abandoned denim factory in Mexico.
Oh, that's depressing.
So
They're like, am I going to lose my other kidney?
There's
All right, here you
like-
go. Let's get this over with.
no
this
one.
isn't what I expected.
Now, Marsters, we know from Buffy.
He was Spike in Buffy and
Yeah.
Angel.
I don't know if I know him from really anything else.
No.
That's probably the only thing anyone knows.
Chow
him
Yun
from.
Fat, obviously legend.
Yeah.
This
Kind of the tail end of his big, North American success.
Yeah, he had a bit of movies in North America there, and then
The one thing you want to get right in Dragon Ball is you want to get a bunch of like good action stars who can fight. They do not have that at all in this movie. Like you've got Justin Chatwin playing Goku. He's just like
we don't see him fight. That's
No.
the thing. In
No.
every shot, it's the back of his head, and it's a stuntman doing every move.
yeah. This has,
He's a okay actor. I've seen him in other stuff.
Would you believe Justin
Okay,
Chatwin
would you believe?
went to the gym for 4 hours a day in order to film this movie?
I believe it.
I believe
He's in
it.
pret's good shape.
He's in fine shape, but
For
he's
how
not
long?
like the. He's not. This
No.
is just before like Thor came out a couple years before. Like he's in good shape for a normal person.
But this isn't like that Royal Chinese Opera sweat school that they put people like Jackie Chan through or whatever, where they're like whipping the kids from 3 years old, teach them how to like fall off a building and not get hurt and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not fair to put it up against Hong Kong action movies,
No.
which is what it's trying to be.
But they invoke that. They bring in Hong Kong action icons, Chow Yun-fat.
Yeah.
And, like, how am I not going to think
Yeah.
that? How am I not going to have the expectation for this to be at least a little bit cool when they're taking on a huge IP? Dragon Ball is well loved, well regarded. It has a huge fan base. Chow Yun-fat, people love him. Like people who know like anything
yeah.
about Hong Kong action movies, Chow Yun-fat's kind of at the top of a lot of lists. Like you're kind of thinking it might be something, and this movie unfortunately just falls a little flat.
Got any more would you believes?
No, that's all. Would you believe James Marsters' makeup took 4 hours to apply? They whittled that time down from 16 hours when they first started it, and then he complained that he couldn't breathe.
I love that.
Spoiled
What a
actor.
prima donna.
Poor guy. 16 hours.
16 hours in the makeup chair. Could you imagine?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like in the Wizard of Oz, like the original Tin Man had to like quit because he got like all this lead poisoning from being covered with all this lead paint or something. So they had to get another guy to play Tin Man.
He had like
Just
asbestos in his
Thoroughly
lungs.
unpleasant conditions.
Of course we use lead-based paint. We don't want to get a sunburn.
James Marsters, I'm sure he's fine.
This movie was screwed off the top. This movie was screwed before they ever started their first day of filming. Like it was screwed well at some point within. I don't know exactly where it went wrong. It might have went wrong in the screenwriting process. It might have went wrong with studio interference. But at some point, somebody looked at the charts and saw that Dragon Ball action figures are flying off the shelf. So we got to get this IP, and we got to make a movie, and we got to strip out anything that's interesting or unique or weird about it, and just make it like the most standard thing
We
ever.
can't look at a young girls. That's not happening
No.
in this movie, even if we cast Emmy Rossum.
Yeah.
No, you don't get
Waste.
raging nosebleeds when you see some panties.
No.
They've desexualized this movie completely, and that's fine.
Somebody had no faith whatsoever in the intellectual property of Dragon Ball.
Well,
And
that's the thing. Like in Dragon Ball, it's whimsical and
But
it's
should
like
they?
it's carefree.
After
I-
what
might-
horrors you've showed me.
So I think that we went through a little.
what fresh hell is this?
We went through a slideshow that Mitchell prepared to show to get Prime Luke, who's never seen Dragon Ball. I'm saying this because I'm probably going to cut most of the slideshow out. But so
it was 6 slides long, and just the first image is enough to let you know that Dragon Ball Evolution paid no homage whatsoever to the source material. Like, Dragon Ball is this really weird world that's half fantasy, half sci-fi. It's populated by dinosaurs and all kinds of weird monsters, and none of that.
and
is in
this
Dragon
movie
Ball.
starts with some. It starts with a voiceover narration.
In a time before many can remember, our planet faced its greatest challenge. A warlord named Piccolo came from distant stars, bringing darkness and chaos to our once peaceful world. Aided by his disciple, Uzaru, the evil pair brought the human race to the brink of annihilation. Cities and countries crumbled beneath them. Countless lives were lost. But finally, a group of brave warriors created the Mafuba, a powerful enchantment that imprisoned Piccolo deep within the earth. With his master captured, Uzaru disappeared, and balance was slowly restored to our world. And so it has remained for thousands of years. Until now!
Whoa!
Dramatic.
So that tells you everything you need to know about
That-
the world that we're
Shit.
about to.
It's just a bunch of word salad.
Compared with the
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
But
So-
kinda. I mean,
Like so,
kinda.
if you figure something important is about to happen. We're gonna learn what all of those words mean and what all of their.
I'll say off the top, structurally, this movie's not that bad. And for it to be rated so low is fucking stupid. You guys can nitpick about how it's not true to the
Oh,
comics
yeah.
all day long, and I'm certain it isn't. But
Yeah.
like as a story, as a movie, I can see why a movie producer would put the stamp on it and be like, "That's a movie." Boom. Like,
yeah.
because
sure.
it functions as a story, and it's just like really boring and mediocre, and it's a story we've seen 100 times before. That's all.
Yeah.
All of the characters are bland and lifeless.
Like, for the record.
That's the thing. Like, yeah, nuts and bolts. It like functions, but like, who the fuck are any of these people? I still don't really know. Like, within the movie itself, everybody is so flat and
Kind of.
Yeah,
But don't turn off the podcast yet, dear listener. There's a lot of shit in this movie, and we're
Yeah.
gonna have some fun with it.
Like, for the record, this is the lowest ranked narrative movie on Letterboxd.
frankly, it's not a good movie, but
It's
it doesn't
functional.
deserve to be.
Yeah.
It's like a James Cameron movie, shittily done. with a shitty budget.
with
like
Sharknado budgets.
It has all the beats of what you'd expect from like a regular Hollywood blockbuster. It's not that fucking shitty. It's just nothing good.
Yeah, it's very clear that nobody had faith in the Dragon Ball IP, but they cribbed a lot of stuff from other intellectual properties. Like Goku is basically Peter Parker in this movie.
Yeah, so
where, like in Dragon Ball, he's a wild monkey man who comes from the mountains, and he's an alien. He's not a human being.
he's
even.
Chim. He's
That
ready.
is a
He's
lot
like
more
throwing.
interesting than
Yeah. So
a story we've seen a million times before.
Yeah.
But that's not this Goku. Throughout the movie, I was thinking, where the fuck is his tail? Because Goku famously has a tail.
Yes.
But he doesn't in this one. But so he's just a high school kid who's trying to beat up his grandpa while they're doing high wire gymnastics.
Yeah.
Kung.
And like
The
Karate.
first rule is there are no rules.
There are no rules.
and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out in like 2000 whatever 2002 something like that. Yeah, and this is like a bit dated even then, but it's copying Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, he's getting picked on at school rather than like the wild little kid. He's walking around with a chip on his shoulder because everybody calls him Giku. When he bikes, he rides his like little scooter to school, and he gets off, and it's immediately just completely run over by the rich kids in school. And I think this is a good time to say, Goku looks like he's fucking 30, and everybody else in this high school looks like they're pushing 40. They're shaving in between classes. These are the most grown-ass high school kids I've ever seen in my life.
It's another case of the Michael Showalter in Wet Hot American Summer being like 50 years old and looking 60 and like playing a high schooler.
Totally.
There's not a genuine high schooler to be seen in this, but yeah, Goku is egregious.
Like the bullies have little handlers to help carry their walkers to class for them. Like they're
I've been trying to think of a way to describe Justin Chatwin, who I like as an actor. I've seen him on Shameless and stuff. He's like if you put a shrink ray on Ryan Reynolds or something. He's
Justin Chat won't.
Justin Chat lost.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Justin Chat.
No, I think he's fine. I like
Yeah,
it.
he's okay.
To be fair, this movie's not. He's fine
This is
in this. They're not giving him anything. It's
He's
just like
horribly cast. Like,
Yeah.
this was always going to be a mess. You just look at him in the poster and you just want to burst out and laugh and point and laugh at him.
Oh yeah.
It's embarrassing.
I don't know who you should cast for Goku. I don't know.
It's
weird. It
the
works.
creator of the comic said he was like super depressed and annoyed and angry that this movie got made, and he's like, well, the only person I could think of is maybe Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan talked about wanting to be Goku early on, and he's like, but now Jackie Chan's too old, but young Jackie Chan maybe was like the only person who could play Goku, and I'm like, I could see that.
I
He's like somebody who can like do the kung fu styles and like do the monkey style and everything, like Sammo Hung, guys like that.
Goku is funny. He's a funny character. You
Yeah.
wouldn't expect it to watch this dour performance here, but like he's really ditzy. He's always eating. He's just like he's such a bimbo when he's not kicking ass.
Himbo.
He's a himbo when he's not kicking ass. And Jackie Chan, I think, has the comedic ability, like the physical comedy ability to bring that across. So he would have been good.
Yeah.
And that
I'd buy it.
pure-hearted element. Jackie Chan has a pretty malice-free air about him.
Yeah.
I'm glad that pedophile artist is mad about this movie. Anyway,
Yeah, I guess this movie did something right.
So
although I loved his work on the Chrono Trigger game.
He's talented.
It's one of the foundational texts of my childhood.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're gonna rule out pedophile artists, you got to rule out
All of them.
all these Japanese.
Everything I loved when I
megacons.
was a kid was made by a pedophile who fucking
oh shit, I had insight.
You were being groomed.
Thank God I still have Bryan Singer, my favorite director. There's nothing wrong with him, is there?
No, he's an A plus. He's an A1 guy.
He gives a good hand job. First-hand experience. Okay, one thing right off the bat.
This is like your 10th thing right off the bat.
Right off the bat. Cut out the right off the bat.
You do say right off the bat a lot. I think Ryan pointed that out.
Yeah, Ryan and Charlene were like, I was like, I only said it twice that episode.
So right off the bat.
Right off the bat, Grandpa Gohan isn't alive in the Dragon Ball comics.
But Goku, in the movie, Goku's being trained by him, and Gohan's giving him some insight and just telling him...
They have what could be a potentially cool kung fu fight where they're, like, fighting on these ropes.
Well, it's like a clothesline.
Yeah,
it's like two clotheslines, and they're kind of one foot's on each one, and they're doing this cool fight and flipping upside down and doing all sorts of
First one to
stuff.
touch the ground loses. Prepare to eat dirt.
And it could be cool, but it's pretty lame. It's
The action's shot not great. You can hardly see what's going on. So I found it actually it was all pretty disorienting whenever they got into the fights.
Well, it's because Justin Chatwin's doing none of it.
That's true.
That's really the only thing. Like, there's people behind the camera who can shoot this stuff, but they're having to constantly cut to put a stuntman in Justin Chatwin's place because guess what? He doesn't know kung fu.
I don't know how we're gonna get because like so much of what's wrong with this movie, because I really did try to watch it separate from all the other Dragon Ball stuff that I'm familiar with, is if it comes down to just another person, they should have just cast another person who can actually do that stuff, and that would have been that much better. Because
for a few,
I
of
was
the
expecting,
roles.
like, I don't care too much about all the minutia and like. It would have been cool to have dinosaurs or whatever. That's a missed opportunity, but I at least expect a competently shot and performed martial arts. And a lot of this some of it was pretty cool, but a lot of it wasn't. And that sucks. They just should have cast somebody else who they can actually film shooting, because that would have made it that much better.
Especially for like a shonen manga like Dragon Ball, where the entire thing revolves around martial arts tournaments and fighting and different fighting styles and everything. The one thing you really have to nail in an adaptation is having some good fights in it. Like, you can fuck around with the effects. Like, it would cost millions of dollars to do some of the effects in the Dragon Ball manga, but the one thing you really have to nail is the fighting, and they just don't do it. It's pretty lame all throughout.
Man, I can just imagine what this would look like if, like, Sammo Hung directed it. And, like, Sammo Hung played Gohan, and, like, they could do all these different styles.
It
and
could have
be
been cool.
super cool.
That would have been better.
Have the Jackie Chan, like, oh my God, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
So this, and of course it sounds like we're being stupid because we're talking about a Japanese manga, and I'm comparing it to Hong Kong action filmmakers, but, like, this is based on a Chinese legend, Journey to the West.
The Legend of the Monkey King, Goku's like a loose adaptation of him.
This movie's produced by Stephen Chow, who's a Chinese film director, comedian, star. He's really great. He made such movies as Kung Fu Hustle and Shaolin Soccer. Movies that have that cartoon energy that you want. They're funny. They have fucking crazy action in them. Like, that's what this movie should have been.
Again,
Stephen Chow should be perfect to make this.
They're coming in with that cachet, like Chow Yun-fat. They're coming in with all these big names that, again, that's separate. Like, the movie's, like, it's not great.
Like, there's a few franchises I clocked while I was watching this that they were like, forget Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is weird and lame. Let's, we're going to make Goku Peter Parker from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. We're going to have them go through, like, a Mount Doom area, like from Lord of the Rings. There's a part where they go through and there's lava exploding everywhere. We're going to have him do, like, a Luke Skywalker arc where he becomes like he's actually involved with the bad guy and it all gets switched up kind of thing.
They did themselves a disservice because they weren't really true to the source material, and then they didn't really do any of the things that they were trying to do well either. So it sucks that was a missed opportunity. But, yeah, okay.
So we see Goku struggling as a student.
He's not doing great. He's in high school.
Yeah, he's getting bullied.
Yeah. He kind of makes eyes with this pretty girl across on the other side of class, who will later meet as Chi-Chi.
Mm-hmm. Then his grandfather, he says, "Oh, happy birthday, by the way, Goku." And he gives him a Dragon Ball, which looks like a marble billiard ball, basically. And
kind of like a Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah, he explains, Alone it does nothing, but unite all 7 in existence and it can grant one perfect wish. Mm-hmm. Which is like a plot thing that they explain 100 times through this movie.
But it's important to know what a Dragon Ball is, and it's this orange thing, and it has, I think, 5 stars on it. Each Dragon Ball has, like, there's 7 of them, and there's, like, the 1-star, 2-star, and that's the 5-star one, and that's pretty much the only way you can tell them apart. And
This
Goku's
is like-
mostly like, I kind of wanted a car or something like that, but this marble's pretty good for a birthday present. Thanks, Gramps.
Goku's riding his bike to school like a chump while all the other kids have nice cars. I'm pretty sure this is like supposed to be in California or something. Some dick named Fuller runs over his bike, and he's like, "Hey, Fuller, you wrecked my bike." And Fuller's like, "Agundus, did you hear something? I could have swore I just heard a fart."
Giku.
Geeko,
right.
Yeah, sure.
The actor who plays Carrie Fuller, his name is Texas Battle. That's like the weirdest actor name I've ever heard.
And that's like Army Hammer. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I bet if you look him up, he's probably some like billionaire's kid who also is like a cannibal.
Mm-hmm. And his great-great-grandpa fought for the Confederacy.
So, where's your statue of him?
Yeah, but he's
Just kidding, folks. Just kidding, folks. We tore down those statues.
Yeah.
We don't have any, not even in any of the closets here.
We're listening. We're learning.
So these guys are real jerks, and Goku likes Chi-Chi, and the whole time and he looks at her, and he just really looks like he needs to take a shit.
Yeah, the Goku's bully, Fuller, is apparently dating Chi-Chi because after he bullies Goku, he like walks away and he puts his arm around Chi-Chi.
They got all the hot girls.
And she looks back at him kind of like a sympathetic, like, oh, you're a loser, but...
You're kind of a cute loser.
Yeah, like I would date you if you weren't such a loser.
Goku's high school life isn't great. As we've seen, he's being trained by his grandpa, and he could just pummel all of them if he wanted to, but he knows restraint. So that's kind of his struggle, is he needs to learn how to assert himself.
He says to Grandpa Gohan after their little sparring session at the beginning of the movie, again, totally in contradiction to the Goku character of the anime or the manga. He's like, Grandpa, I don't even care about this martial arts technique. Can't you like teach me how to pick up girls or something like that? And Grandpa's
I don't know. Isn't he horny in the manga too?
Goku's
He's,
not that horny. He's mostly hungry.
he does a lot of genital patting, but it's not out of horniness.
The Chi-Chi in this movie is played by Jamie Chung, and
Yep.
she's
Bet.
a total smoke show.
That's one of the cool things about Dragon Ball, and I guess this is a trope in manga, is time jumps, where like you can, if you read all of the Dragon Ball manga, you basically see Goku's entire life from the time he was like an 8-year-old boy meeting Bulma for the first time to the time where he's like retired from fighting and he's got like grandkids and stuff. Like
This isn't Speed Racer where they can just take his entire life and seamlessly edit it into a 5-minute sequence.
No.
It doesn't have that
That
type
movie's
of
made by
firepower.
good filmmakers.
Yeah, but what we do see is that he's bullied and he wants revenge, and then we cut to Piccolo floating around in his giant fortress, just dropping like atom bombs, and
he floats everywhere in this giant airship. And
it's pretty good. I mean, it doesn't look that great, but I would float in a giant airship if I could.
I mean,
Yeah, he just like blew up a village in Japan.
yeah, which is like the
It seems to be Japan.
I think it's Japan.
There's people speaking Japanese there. You said we don't know where if this takes place on planet Earth. But
Well-
in some places, people are speaking English, and in other places, people are speaking Japanese. So
That's the very confused identity of this movie, where they're like, we want Goku to be a suburban kid, but Dragon Ball doesn't take place in the suburbs, so he's just a suburban kid, but he's in the middle of like volcanoes. And
But doesn't this mostly take place in the South Pacific?
Is that revealed?
No, it's a
it
but
looked pretty multicultural at his school. I'd say it
Yeah.
looks like Southern California,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Dragon
I don't
Balls
know.
are scattered around the world, so Piccolo can bomb him.
The movie wants to have it both ways because it has Goku as like a suburban kid going into this high school. Piccolo kills his grandfather, and that's the Luke Skywalker kind of to this movie where like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are killed by the Empire, and that like convinces Luke to leave the planet and go on
Spoiler.
Spoiler! But they just steal
I
that.
haven't seen that.
And they're like, let's apply this to Dragon Ball. This doesn't happen in Dragon Ball, but they're like, what if King Piccolo kills Grandpa Gohan?
Yeah.
And that could be Goku's motivation.
King Piccolo's bad. We know that because we see him doing bad things like bombing villages and stealing Dragon Balls.
He's got green skin.
He bombs that village, and there's a woman like hiding in a cellar, and we don't know why.
He has his number one. I don't know her name, but she's just like wearing red leather and she's kicking ass.
She's
and
badass.
Yeah.
She's badass. And
Her name is Mai or Mia.
Okay. So
Mai.
she's like Piccolo's number one, and Piccolo like comes in and he's free. He's been in prison for like 2,000 years and he's out for good behavior or something. I don't know why he's roaming around, but
Yeah,
he's
it's
a
not
threat.
clear why he's free, but there's something about the astrology.
There's
Goku's in like class, and they're like, "This is astrology class," which is interesting. I'm like,
Today we're going to learn
"Astrology
all about
class?"
solar eclipses, and this isn't going to have any bearing on the movie.
Goku's not paying attention. He's like Speed Racer drawing like doodles in the corner
Yeah.
of his pamphlet.
He's
And
like,
then the teacher's
almost
like,
panties look like this.
oh,
I mean-
okay, this teacher has like one of those beating sticks. Like, he's got like one of those sticks that you point things out on the board and you can like smash it on a student's desk if he's misbehaving. So Goku's not paying attention, and the teacher beats his beating stick on Goku's desk, and he's like, Goku, what might our ancestors say about the coming solar eclipse? Goku's like, oh, well, my grandpa would say, beware of the Nameks.
They're an alien race that nearly destroyed Earth over 2,000 years ago. This was after he was daydreaming about Chi-Chi.
Yeah, and everybody, rightfully so, looks at him like he's from another planet. Like
It doesn't make sense.
He's talking gibberish, and you know what? It's times like this. I was like, you know what, Goku? I don't like bullying, but come on, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, this is
get your
like-
shit together and
this
don't be
is-
talking about Namek in your high school astrology class.
There's layers of not
Astrology
making sense.
is ridiculous.
Like,
That's not a thing.
that's not a...
It's American schools, man. I don't know.
That's
We can't teach astronomy anymore. All we got is astrology.
I mean,
It's such a Libra rising thing to say. You need to. We're watching a movie. You can't expect it to be 100% accurate. Sometimes in a movie, so a teacher's gonna ask you about solar eclipses.
Goku should have just stood up and showed off his boner. Like, this is why I don't want to go to the board.
The cosmic ballet goes on.
Every man.
Anybody want to switch seats?
So yeah, so there's a solar eclipse coming up, and that's very important. And Piccolo's on a tear.
I'm dreading asking, but is that in the manga, the solar eclipse thing?
Full moons are important.
Okay.
Full moons are a thing. I don't know about solar eclipses, but
This is the thing where I thought...
this is the thing.
I was thinking of Luke the most during this, which is like, it makes no sense Goku turning into the Ozaru. Anyone who knows Dragon Ball, the manga, or the anime knows that Saiyans turn into big monkeys. That's like their thing.
Anyone.
Anyone.
They do it, and some of them actually can kind of do it. Like later on, there's Vegeta. He has a thing where he can like create.
What?
Vegeta, Goku's
That's other bad-
Saiyan Lord.
Basically,
Okay, I've heard of
so being
Vegeta.
able to turn into a giant raging monkey is actually like their trump
Racial
card.
trait. It's a racial trait.
Yeah,
like,
that they destroy planets with that ability, and they're aware of it. And it's like their
Oh my God.
monthlies. It comes up because it's a full moon. They get it every month. When there's a full moon, for like 8 hours they turn into a 400-foot Godzilla-sized raging monkey beast.
and,
I need a bigger toilet.
like, what
Me
if,
and Vegeta.
it's like,
You know what? I'm glad I didn't know going into
It's
the movie
almost
because
better.
the movie makes sense kind of on its own terms.
I think I was
yeah.
able to compartmentalize a little bit better than Mitch. But like, I don't think this movie made sense much within its own.
It didn't break
world.
my brain that much.
Piccolo's on a
The
rampage,
John Waters version might be better.
it would.
and he's gotta find the Jade Monkey before the full moon, and Goku and Gohan are having this dinner, and
Yeah, Goku was invited to Chi-Chi's party,
right.
and Goku impressed Chi-Chi because she couldn't get her locker open, and he used the special punch, the magic punch.
Oh
thing.
yeah, he
Yeah.
used his like wind technique.
That's right.
Crane
Okay.
punch or whatever.
And he opened all
to
the
open
lockers.
all the lockers.
and-
And she's like, "Oh, cool, you know martial arts?" And he's like, "How do you know that?" And she's like, "I don't know."
opened my
I wouldn't know.
locker.
I don't train with 1,000 other people in a secret martial arts training facility.
Everybody in our town is in this thing.
So yeah,
Chi-Chi
Goku impresses
is-
Chi-Chi.
She's pretty impressed. She invites him to the party, and like her party is insane.
It's in a castle.
It's like, did you guys see Melancholia? Like,
Yeah.
there's like a wedding that takes place in a mansion there. That's what this party is like. There's like
Movie would be
fountains.
better if it was directed by Lars von Trier for sure.
It'd definitely be hornier.
But
Movie's kind of horny.
I
Not
don't
horny enough. for
horny
sure.
enough.
like
Source
all
material.
all his high school jock bullies. They all drive like the sweetest cars ever.
What the fuck
Like,
is Goku even doing going to this high school? He is so just like firmly middle class, and everybody else is
Yeah.
driving Maseratis and living in castles. I don't know how this happened.
to trade on some?
It's so he
cheesy
has a
dramas.
showdown with the bullies
Yeah,
who
and-
like don't want to let him into the party. They're like, "You shouldn't be here, Geeku," or whatever.
Yeah, and he remembers like talking to his grandpa, who he ditched. To, like it was silhouette night at the Gohan house, and Goku ditched to go to the party.
Oh,
But he's
yeah.
like, well, remember, if you don't punch anybody, because you're super strong, and you'll make their head explode if you hit them.
Man, his grandpa made him this like awesome birthday feast out of like shrimp tails and lobster arms, or
Chicken feet.
There's chicken feet,
yeah, chicken feet.
and I gotta say,
It
this
looked
movie,
delicious.
I didn't think it was shooting it very well, but yeah, chicken feet, pretty good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look at all these disgusting, weird Oriental foods. Guys.
That's how they were
And I'm
shooting
like,
it, and
that
that
looks
was
good.
That looks amazing.
It looked great. They were, yeah. I was like, I would chow down so hard. So, Goku's getting in a fight at the party, and they're fighting him in such a way that like one of them's standing right behind him, and Goku's like, if I'm not gonna hit you, I'll just
yeah.
duck out of the way. So he's pretty nimble and agile. He's ducking all the punches, and everybody's clocking their buddies in the face, and
Yeah, he promised Grandpa Gohan that he wasn't going to be a rabble rouser. So the only way he can fight these bullies is like a defensive technique. So he's just dodging them, and they're like breaking their hands by punching through windows. And
They make him break Fuller's car, just bust it up real good.
it goes full Big Lebowski, where he's just like dude smashing his own car and raging hard. I'll show you how to fuck a stranger in the ass, or I'll teach you how. This is what happens when you
Yeah.
fuck a stranger in the ass.
this is what
Too
happens.
bad John Goodman was in the other movie, the better one.
Based on how they cast these high school students, John Goodman could have been the lead bully.
There's some 90210 feel to these high school bullies.
So arthritis is kicking in for a couple of those high school cast members.
So Chi-Chi takes a liking quite a bit to Goku.
Yeah.
They've always had a little bit of a spark between each other. Even like initially when she was being led off by the bully, she kind of like threw him a backwards glance, like, I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
By the way, hey, Jamie Chung, I mentioned her briefly. I like her a bit. Seen her in lots of stuff. She's in Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch.
Oh,
She was also in HBO's Lovecraft Country, which got canceled after one season, but I thought was kind of a cool show. So Grandpa's waiting sadly at home with Goku's cake. He's just like sitting there staring down at the floor while there's a cake in front of him.
It's really sad. and then his incense starts blowing in just such a way, and he knows something's amiss. And Piccolo shows up. Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
Yeah, he's looking for that other Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and then while Goku's hanging out with Chi-Chi, like Piccolo collapses the whole house onto Gohan, and
Yeah.
Goku's hackles go up a little bit. And he's like,
I can always sense Grandpa.
I think Grandpa's being crushed right now. So Goku runs to his grandpa's house, and he finds that it's been crushed up pretty good. It's a particularly bad case of being crushed.
Being crushed by a
Yeah.
house.
This
And
house-
he's Uncle Ben.
Yeah, exactly. He gets to have his like dying words.
That's what I have in my notes. Uncle
Yeah.
Ben.
100%, because like he's like, before I die, let me give you some imparting wisdom that will define your character arc for the rest of this movie.
That's
Like-
actually way better. I had Uncle Owen, but Uncle Ben is the much more better.
Always
better
have faith
skit.
in who you are. He says.
Goku, yeah.
He says, all the words that I say now are going to come back to you at the very end of the
Yeah.
movie.
Always have faith in yourself.
Yeah, just like a little bit of trivia. This guy has a Wachowskis connection. He was played by the guy who played the Keymaker in the Matrix
Oh,
sequels.
shit.
Matrix Reloaded.
Randall
yeah.
Duck
Okay.
Kim. So a little tie into the other one. But yeah, he's done. He's donezo. And
Dead.
Piccolo
served
came
his
to look for the
purpose.
Dragon Ball. He
No
couldn't
cake.
find it because Goku had it in his pants, or he stuffed his pants before he went to that party or something
Yeah,
like
and
that.
to impress Bulma.
Goku
Chi-Chi.
picks up his Grampy's gi.
Yeah.
Gotta have
Oh,
the
yeah.
gi.
There is a couple little fan servicey moments through this, like when Goku's in class earlier, he's wearing a hoodie that's blue and orange, which is like the colors Goku always wears in the manga.
That's the classic look, and so you see that. It's like
Didn't move the needle for all the fans. I wonder why.
it's like the
It
same type
wasn't
of thing
enough.
as like in The Force Awakens when they run by the Millennium Falcon, where people are like,
Yeah.
it's not, but like people are like that's Goku's gi.
They didn't do enough in this. Like they should have at least had like Goku runs through a barnyard at some point and sees a pig and he's like oolong.
He should have fucked it.
He should have fucked the pig. To be true to the manga.
So Goku's like packing up all his belongings, and then who enters the movie but Emmy Rossum as Bulma, who somehow manages to both be overacting and underacting. She's
Yeah.
like trying to find what she wants to do.
She's a very good actor. If anyone's watched Shameless, you know she anchors that series with a lot of humor and heart, and like she's fearless in a lot of ways.
Oh.
In this, she is so badly miscast. I don't know what.
Yeah, so
Bulma Briefs.
Bulma Briefs.
Briefs is her
Yeah.
last name.
And in like Japanese, I think her name is Bloomers. So it's even more like her whole thing is panties. That's why she loves panties so
underwear.
much in the manga.
We don't even see her underwear in this
No.
thing.
No, it's horrible.
But she shows up because she knows that there's a Dragon Ball there, and she's looking for her Dragon Ball. And we find out that she has this Dragon Ball tracker thing, and they all look the same.
Calls
Doesn't
them
matter.
Prometheum orbs.
That's right. She doesn't know that other people call them Dragon Balls, and then they realize that they're talking about the same thing, and they have like
Yeah.
a little bit of a fight. And she's quite handy with her pistols, and she's trying to pop off Goku's head, and he's moving around, and there's a bit of banter where she's like, "I almost got you. You wish. Ha ha ha."
There's a good back and forth.
Yeah, and it's a pretty standard sort of meet cute in these types of movies where two people come to the same place and they realize they're looking for the same thing.
She's objectively a pretty good badass. She like rolls in with the guns out and
Yeah.
she's like giving him a run for his money and everything.
She's cool. She's got a blue streak in her hair in the show, the manga. She's got all blue hair, and
She doesn't flash any panties. She doesn't
No.
flash her boobs at him.
but they decide to join forces to go hunt for the Dragon Balls. She pulls out like one of her little capsule things, and she throws it down. And it turns into a kind of crappy looking hover motorcycle thing.
Yeah.
The CGI isn't great, and Goku's not really. I guess if this is a world where that happens, well, nobody else is driving those crazy cars, so it's pretty new to him, I guess. But anyways,
It's very of its time. Like, she throws down her capsule. Bulma's whole thing is her father owns the Capsule Corp, which is like this amazing company that can fit anything into a capsule, and you throw it on the ground, it appears. It could be a house, it could be a
Spaceships.
airplane. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be anything. But
they had a Prometheum orb. And
they-
I think Piccolo already got it.
Piccolo got theirs.
Prometheum orb, a.k.a. a Dragon,
Dragon
Ball.
Ball.
So we know that Piccolo's got at least a couple Dragon Balls, and Goku. The only one that we know for sure is safe is Goku's. But they're going out to look for more. So in order to find out more about the Dragon Balls, they need to search this guy that Gohan had told Goku about.
Master Roshi.
Master Roshi. Master Roshi's the guy who taught him his like key moves and stuff like that. So they got to go find this guy. So they go into this CGI city to go find Master Roshi, and Goku's just chewing like a giant turkey leg the whole time, and I like that.
That was an homage to the comics.
Yeah,
I guess.
he's always eating all the time. So that
They've
was
just
like
been
a nice
riding
thing.
on their motorcycles, and he's just he's got a turkey
They're
leg
they're
like
trying,
he's Ernest Borgnine in the Vikings.
he's got like a like in the comics, he lives in Kame House, which is this house on like a weird isolated island, and they kind of pay tribute to that in this movie where he's got like a house on a weird island, but it's like just an island like outside of New York or whatever
it's
city
like
he's
the
by.
island. It's a weird island, Manhattan. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
It's not some remote Pacific place. It's
It is not the Kame House. He's not really a Hawaiian-themed character. He doesn't drive on a giant turtle like he does in the comics, but he does wear a Hawaiian shirt.
and he is
so-
played by Chow Yun Fat.
chewing the scenery.
Yeah, he comes in and
Yeah.
he's game. He's always game. So Master Roshi is the wizened old guy, but you know what? Chow Yun-Fat's
He's wacky.
he's wacky, but he's also talented. Like him and Goku get into a fight and they're going for it and
Kicks
one
the
thing-
shit out of Goku.
Yeah,
He makes
and
a clown of
and
him.
he doesn't even try. And one thing in the show they do a lot, and they do in like other anime, they'll do like kind of like the E Honda's 1,000 Palm Punch, where like you can't even like the hands are moving so fast you can't even see their arms. So they kind of do this, but they're like
That
they're
looked bad
dodging.
in this.
It looked really bad, but they're trying to do stuff, but they're just not quite there. But they have a fight, and Roshi, Goku pulls out his grandpa's secret ki blast, and Roshi's like, I recognize the Shadow Crane technique anyway, or the Shadow
That's
Crane
right.
kick. And he's like, I taught that to your grandfather. How is he? Dead. Wah, wah. And so they sit down and kind of have a little chat about what they're going to do next in the movie.
And yeah, so he says, Grandpa told me to tell you Piccolo is back. And then he recites this poem, and it's like 7 Dragon Balls must be found, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like Lord of the Rings, where it's like 9 rings for Elven
yeah.
Kings under the sky. And
Well, Akira Toriyama did steal that from another mythological legend. Yeah, it's like
and that they're explaining the whole plot once again for like the 3rd time already now.
For those
and we're
of
only
you
like,
in the back.
yeah, that's
Well-
what I have in my notes exactly.
like
For those of you in the back, if you didn't get the fucking plot by now.
They find out Piccolo's on the loose. And then we actually cut to Piccolo again, who's just it's kind of like in Holy Grail where Tim the Enchanter's just blowing shit up just for fun. Piccolo's just like going by in his floating fortress, dropping bombs, just like blowing up the landscape
Yeah.
every
Well,
which
he
way.
vaporizes. There's a reason he vaporizes a lake to get to the Dragon Ball that's at the bottom.
oh yeah, he drops.
But
like a-
also, he's just a dick.
I'm sure he could hold his breath. An almighty being like that.
this is the only time you see him is he floats around on his airship from place to place.
I have no fucking idea who this guy is. They've told me that he's bad, and they show him doing bad
Yeah.
things. But like,
He's
you get
cool
given
looking.
zero chance to explain anything
I
about his
know,
character.
you get nothing of the
Like,
villain
who-
in this movie. It fucking that is the worst part
and you
about
read
it.
like trivia, like James Marsden's talking about like how he approached this character like a Shakespearean villain. And I was
He's
like,
barely in
compli-
this
like,
movie,
who the
and there's
fu-
no character to it.
at all. And that
You see
sucks.
more of his sidekick Mai than you see of Piccolo.
Totally,
Like,
she's the badass, and he's like he's just blowing shit up, and like. Fine, you can do that, but just give me a little bit of what's going on inside. And
absolutely nothing there.
it sucks. They really like that makes me care about him not at all. I don't.
I'm
and
sure Piccolo is a really cool and interesting character in the movie.
he was a very
or in the-
complicated character.
Piccolo's very.
You know what?
We could take.
I don't give a fuck.
The
To me, this is my Piccolo. This one who's
Well-
like in 10 minutes of this dumbass movie.
And who the fuck is this guy? 'Cause
the saddest thing is, this is like the one thing visually they might have got right. Everything about him they got wrong.
he says all of like 10 words. Like it sucks. He sucks, but he's blowing shit up. He's collecting Dragon Balls, and Goku and Bulma and Roshi need to go hunt down more Dragon Balls. So while they're driving down through this desert road, they're in the back of Bulma's truck. Roshi's training Goku up, teaching him how to do various things, how to unlock his ki so he can become even more powerful.
they go to
That's
the
right.
stone temple, and ta-da, Chi-Chi's there.
Uh-huh.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't have thought it because she was just your high school crush, but actually she's into martial arts.
Yeah, and
She's
she's
like, cool. Are you in the school that it's like Cobra Kai, where like every single person is
Seriously.
like in karate?
she made it seem like it was like a somewhat secret thing, or like an exclusive club. But there's 1,000 people in this valley just all doing their kata at the same in unison.
Can you imagine being like the one person in Pasadena or wherever it is not being in karate?
They're never Giku never had a chance to win the All Valley. So, but they're going and they're training, and while they're going along, they fall into this gigantic pit, which we find out is dug by Yamcha, the lovable vagabond,
Yeah.
played by what was the fella's name? June Park, as we
Park.
discussed in Speed Racer. Much beefier role in this movie.
His only 2 film roles.
Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
he's like a surfer dude. He's like, yo, I couldn't help but notice you fell into my huge pit. Well, I'll help you out. You just got to pay me all your money or give me your car. He's like pulling a scam. He's grifting them. He's a desert vagabond. He's pretty cool.
Roshi gives us the whole poem once more.
We hear the plot again.
And the entire opening narration we hear once more.
This movie's 85 minutes, and a good 10 minutes is just rehashing the same
opening narration
again and again. He's a guy. He's a Ninja Turtle who joins up with the Dragon Ball guys, and he through telling us the plot of the story again, or him the plot of the story, the poem, and all that.
You would think though
they're on their way.
Like
Yamcha decides to help them. He's an ally now.
He should at least have like a pet cat named Poir as like a reference.
I'm not missing the cat.
Roshi, anyway, they hang out in the hole for a while, and Roshi can just like hop out with his magic kung fu powers, and he bribes Yamcha into drilling for a Dragon Ball because they know there's a Dragon Ball nearby.
And Yamcha's got the special drilling tools. Mm-hmm. He's got a directional drill
to dig his big holes. It makes all the sense in the world. So they're hunting for another Dragon Ball. Meanwhile, back in Piccolo's fortress, we see Piccolo getting hooked up to some sort of blood spike machine, and they make a bunch of, I don't know what, clones or something. But
it's like Game of Thrones. The shadow lady making like shadow assassins to go in and like assassinate
little
people.
Melisandre's minions and like his
femme fatale is like hooking tubes up to him.
Your blood will give them life, and so that's going on. And then cut to Mount Doom, where the Dragon Ball gang are trying to get the next Dragon Ball, which is in the middle of a volcano. And, like, Yamcha is just getting blasted with volcano steam. And rather than just being, like, a skeleton, he's like, oh, it's pretty hot.
So they're waylaid by these monster dudes.
Yeah, who even knows what they are? But they're these little gleep glop, jumpy roundy guys who
they're
are
like the putties from Power Rangers.
Pretty much. They're like, you hit them in the chest and they die. And so they're
whacking them into the lava.
Yeah, they're making short work, and they need to get across the volcano, and Goku decides to make a bridge out of their corpses, which is delightfully morbid for this movie.
Yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
They're throwing them in the lava, kicking them in such a way that they can make bridges out of them.
I like it. And while this
they should have included some like horrible screams. That would have been good. Like Goku jumping across this land bridge of melting people while they scream. That would have.
So, speaking of horrible screams, while this is happening, like kind of throughout the movie, Goku's kind of having these flashes, and he's like because they keep telling him the same thing over and over again. He's really scared with this Ozaru, and he's starting to be worried that like he might have something to do with this Ozaru, or he's tied in with this weird prophecy. So that's kind of haunting. Ozaru will destroy everything. So they're going and they get the last Dragon Ball, and then Ernie Hudson's in the movie for a little bit.
Yeah, they go to Toy-san.
Yes,
Toy-san.
They need to win.
We have to go see Sifu. And I'm like, who's Sifu? Is it going to be somebody good? And and it's fucking Ernie Hudson.
Ernie Hudson. I love Ernie Hudson, but as a martial artist Buddhist monk type, I never envisioned him as that. So it was very surprising.
Weird casting, but like Speed Racer, this movie has a cool international cast, I guess.
Sure, yeah, he's got
for better or worse.
whatever his story is, he's got some super white eyebrows, and that looks cool. I want my Sifu to be just a shock of white everywhere, old and who knows all the lore and has all the wisdom in the world, and they at least put some makeup and some prosthetics on Ernie Hudson to kind of make him.
Okay, so you can't handle a black man as your Sifu.
You want a white everywhere. Well, it's
not my Sifu.
I want like Tilda Swinton in Doctor Strange.
Well, Ernie Hudson is one of the magical wizards, the Manchu or whatever.
Sure, whatever he is, he kind of tells them he tells them the story again, I think.
I think he does tell them the entire story.
Let me remind you.
So there's a tournament, and Chi-Chi is fighting Mai, which is Piccolo's right-hand woman, in a tournament, and I think Chi-Chi beats her or whatever, but Mai secretly has like a syringe with a needle and like pokes her and steals some of her blood.
Because as it was previously established, they can use blood to make identical clones of people, I guess. They're in the tournament, and then Goku's getting some more training from Master Roshi, and then he has a little. He needs to learn how to master his ki better. So Roshi's like, you can't go to bed until you fluff out all these torches with your ki. And so Goku's practicing, and then Chi-Chi comes in, and they kind of have some sparks fly here.
Yeah, Chi-Chi goes, every time you light a torch, you can take one step closer to me. And she's got, like, all of her cleavage out.
She's
It's an enticing offer.
That would motivate me to shoot fireballs out of anywhere.
Chow Yun-Fat is he's like teaching Goku the Kamehameha. This is the Kamehameha move.
Yeah, you got to learn if you want to beat Piccolo, you got to know the Kamehameha. So Goku's training, and once that proposition's made, Goku snuffs all the torches at once, and she kind of has like a bit of a look of disgust on her face. It's like, oh, I didn't expect you to succeed, at least so fast. Like,
It's like, no, I gotta make out with this guy.
there's a thing I got to do. So then,
But then this is when we see other people spot Chi-Chi leaving Goku's room.
That's right, yeah. And I was a bit confused by this because I thought they full on hooked up, but that happens off
It's a good
camera.
fake
It's
out.
a trick.
It's a
You
trick.
think
They're
they
shape shifting.
It's kind of like Bulma's walking by and she's like, "Hey, Chi-Chi. Hey, Chi-Chi. Wait a minute. 2 Chi-Chis?"
I thought, man,
it's a
I
double
thought
trouble
for a
situation.
second there was a fuck confirmation in this movie, and I almost liked it better. But
It was close.
It could have
but
been.
no, that's a Chi-Chi clone.
It's a
She'd
Chi-Chi
gone
clone.
in and stolen the Dragon Balls.
There's also been some hints that Yamcha and Bulma's relationship has been building throughout this too, where they're like getting closer together, and they both came upon a false Chi-Chi leaving Goku's room, and
Right.
they're like, "Oh, I didn't know that Goku had it in him," and
Yeah.
Goku fucks.
it turns out he doesn't.
No,
But then
don't
they,
fuck.
they pretty quickly
Not
realize that it's a Chi-Chi clone, or at least something's amiss. So they try to get her, but she gets away.
She's Mai, Piccolo's femme fatale in disguise.
It's Mai in disguise as
Yeah.
Chi-Chi. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have like a fight. Things light on fire, and they get away. And the only thing is, like, Piccolo has now the Chi-Chi's stolen them, or Mai's stolen them. Now Piccolo has all the Dragon Balls, and they need to go to the final showdown before the.
Lucky that Ernie Hudson and his 7 monks have been chanting in a room overnight, because they've made a magic jar that Goku can use to trap Piccolo in the jar. Underground. Just like we've been reminded 7 times through the movie.
Man, I feel like this movie, just describing it, is making me dumber.
It's not.
Like, I can actually, like, feel the brain cells leaving my head.
It's not great.
Yeah.
It's
Piccolo
it
talks
definitely-
about how he's been in prison for 2,000 years like a djinn.
Yeah.
But there's no explanation as to why he's free.
no. Where the fuck did he come from?
I don't know.
The
Cotton
good
Eye
guys
Joe.
come in a helicopter to stop him, and it gets just, like, shot down right away.
Yeah, they get shot down, and then they have to go fight it out on the ground.
Yeah, we get a final fight.
Yeah, Piccolo rises up on this really shitty-looking rock spire so he can cast his wish from on high. And, yeah. And then Goku, like, while he's fighting Piccolo, Piccolo's like, he's like, I need to beat you. I need to stop Ozaru. And Piccolo's like, oh, you poor fool. You are Ozaru. And then we see a flashback
Yeah.
of, we find out that Goku actually is his greatest fear. And
This is where
He transforms. It's like American Werewolf in London, but it sucks.
It's
More like Canadian Shit Wolf in Quebec.
he's like a,
Yeah.
he's a kind of big, yeah.
it's so bad.
He's a
It
slightly
comes
bigger monkey.
out of nowhere. But like, again, if you know Dragon Ball, you know that Goku is the Ozaru. But if you don't know Dragon Ball, like Luke, like this comes. I couldn't help but think of you while I was watching this part, where it's like,
Thanks for thinking of me.
it's like all of a sudden Goku is the Wolfman of London. Like, it doesn't make sense. It comes out of nowhere. They've mentioned Ozaru a couple times throughout the movie, but
They kind of, they mentioned I was paying attention. They mentioned Ozaru, but also they kind of hinted that Grandpa was like, there's something about your background that I'm not
okay.
revealing.
That's true. That's true.
Interesting.
They were hinting that there's something.
Interesting.
Trust in
Goku is
yourself.
special.
You're something else. Also,
So it wasn't quite as totally out of left field as I imagined.
I
but-
didn't see it coming, but also it was like I was ready for something to happen.
Yeah, it looks like shit. Yeah, like you say, Ozaru isn't a wolf man. He's a kaiju. He's a...
But
fair
if you
enough.
Make him an 8-foot tall gorilla, that's fine too. But anyway, so he goes on a tear. He's raging around, and everybody's like, Goku's like, oh, he's having flashbacks, and remember who you are.
It's
and
so stupid. Him and Piccolo are having a battle.
Everything has to come back to Goku too at this moment. He has to remember everything he's been.
It's like Speed Racer at the end of the race,
Yeah.
except it's so much.
It's like
poorer.
first rule is there's
Yeah.
no rules, and you have to
Well, first
go
off,
over his entire life.
Goku kills Master Roshi.
His life is so bland
Like,
and uninteresting, which makes it suck.
Goku starts off.
He
He's so
strangles Roshi
into the Ozaru persona, like the Wolfman persona, that he kills Master Roshi, and I think Master Roshi whispers him some words of wisdom at the end, like "Remember who you are," and that's inspirational to him. And yeah, he remembers Grandpa Gohan's words, and all of a sudden he can reclaim his.
Yeah, he's
so inspirational.
He snaps out of it like he's
I cried.
Betty White in a Snickers commercial, where it's like, oh, I guess you were just a little bit grumbly or a
He's
little
like,
bit hungry.
yeah, he's like, I came back from it. Too bad I killed Roshi first, but okay, I'm back to normal now.
Yeah, it's so apparently this is what this movie's about. Goku has this revelation. It's like, I am both Goku and Ozaru. It's about, channeling both sides of my personality, and it makes it seem like that's what this whole journey is about, which it hasn't been at all. It's just such an unearned moment of finding your true self, but whatever, that's what he has to do to be Piccolo, so he's back into human form. And then they have a fireball fight. They don't have a martial arts fight. They don't throw a single punch or kick at each other. They just throw a bunch of fireball laser blasts at each other.
And
which
to be fair, it's a
you would
lot
want.
of fireballs.
It's a lot.
It's a pretty big CGI battle.
Bulma is having a gun fu showdown
Oh yeah, she gets
With
her
Mai.
fight. Yeah, the femme fatale
while
Mai.
Goku and Piccolo are fighting.
I'll say Bulma
And I'm
throws down in
thinking
this movie.
here, I could tell already. I have no idea anything that you told me up to this point, but I'm like, I know this is pissing off fans of the franchise. I know they're all fucking mad.
I don't even know Mai. I don't know
Yeah,
if she was in there.
Yamcha saves Bulma by shooting Mai in the back.
Oh yeah, hero.
Yeah.
So yeah, Goku,
Like a Dragon Ball.
Goku
Alright.
smacks down Piccolo with the Kamehameha, and then basically he has all the Dragon Balls, and he uses these little cereal box prizes
Oh yeah.
to bring back Roshi.
Yeah, very
What
humbly.
a waste of a fucking...
Yeah, they,
wish. Who
they
cares
bring back
about that?
I
Master
met that guy
Roshi.
like 2 days ago.
Why not bring back Roshi second? Like
Why
you
don't
could wish...
bring back your grandpa?
Yeah, that was the main
Yeah,
thing. That was the
just
big thing.
met Roshi.
Yeah.
Especially since like they bring Roshi back and he immediately is like, "Oh, I was just chilling in heaven with Grandpa and we were drinking Mai Tai."
Bulma's still wearing panties. You could have used her wish to remove those.
So yeah.
Hey, I'm just spitballing here, guys,
Yeah,
but there's a
yeah.
lot of things you could have done.
That's right.
It's a pretty big waste of a wish. But this big
Yeah.
golden dragon, Shenlong the dragon, comes in, and Master Roshi's back, and he can go be an old hermit pervert.
Yeah. Which he didn't have nearly enough. He
Yeah.
should have been bleeding from his nose and getting boners every time he saw Bulma, but
Yeah. And
it just never happened.
That's
I didn't understand what was happening with that dragon.
so apparently the dragon had dialogue at one point, and they cut it out because they wanted their movie to be 85 minutes for some reason. That would have been nice, but the dragon in the show.
I respect that being 85 minutes, hard cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just make the dragon appear.
So traditionally in the show or whatever, the dragon comes and it doesn't say much. He just says, "I'll grant you a wish," and just lets you know that it'll grant you a wish, and then that's what happens. So it probably would have been something like that. But
Yeah.
the dragon pops up, Roshi's back to life. Then all the Dragon Balls get scattered
Yeah.
all across the globe again, They can be found again. They can summon the dragon back later if they want to.
Which is the thrust of this 20-year franchise.
Yeah.
It's been going for decades
Somebody
now.
else is dead. They need a new wish to bring somebody back to life. It's always to bring somebody back to life. So that's another adventure. This one wraps to a close with Goku and Chi-Chi going to throw down like it's the end of Rocky 3. And so they kind of just like freeze frame as they're about to, kind of knock each other around and presumably go and have a little sparring. Have a little sparring in the
That's
sheets.
how they make little Gohan.
Yeah. So that's the end of the movie.
Just like the sparring. Never mind.
That's the end of the movie. Except for there's a stinger. You see, cut to some hut. There's this kind of like matronly nurse type person walking around. They walk up and they're reviving somebody, kind of bringing them back to
It looked
full
like
health.
the Japanese lady whose village was nuked.
That's true.
That's
yeah.
what
I thought that's
thought.
who that was.
Maybe it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But it doesn't make sense.
No.
But
'Cause
why
she
not?
was killed.
You killed
Just
my
because it
entire
doesn't make
family.
sense doesn't mean that's not who it was
No.
in this movie.
I didn't check. But
So who rolls over but Piccolo? And who knows what he wants? Because I don't know anything
God
about this
only
guy
fucking
still, and the
knows.
movie is over.
I don't know why he was
Probably
She's
here.
feeding him
revenge.
soup. That is so stupid. I mean, I can't wait for the sequel.
Yeah.
What are we, 12 years out?
God.
Come on, sequel.
Yeah, they left that little hot little teaser in for the sequel.
So
That,
I don't know why
20th
people
Century
aren't
Fox.
making it. This movie, like this franchise or this IP or whatever, you can make money off of it. I don't know why they haven't tried it again, because they can do it better. And I feel like big budget studios are smarter about how they do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Anyone
I'm
could
not
do it.
clamoring
Sometimes.
for it, but I'm surprised it hasn't happened.
Get some Asian actors
Oh, 100%.
and a director who can do good action.
Oh God! If you made this like a Hong Kong movie, like us three would be going crazy for it. But like you could even make
Hong
it.
Kong in the 80s is
Yeah,
a different
yeah,
story. But
yeah.
even now, you could make a fucking decent movie.
Yeah, and there is some
At
other
least, yeah.
live action adaptations of Dragon Ball that I can't quite recall.
They came out in like the
But-
early 90s, like or late 80s, early 90s type of thing.
I would have to think they'd be a lot more fun than this,
Oh,
even,
for
even
sure.
with like just like shitty budget. And,
I didn't like this movie took itself way too seriously. Like I wasn't really on the wavelength. Like I don't know. It was just a bit too hard to be too cool, and I didn't have a great time. But
It
I think
just-
those other ones would be fun because I think
yeah,
I think the comparisons to the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans are most apt.
yeah.
yeah.
It's
It 100%
the
It's
same
tried
trying
to
to
rip
do that,
off.
but
We're gonna have them go through a Mount Doom area. Like, where the hell does Goku live? He starts off in the suburbs, and then his grandpa's house gets buried, and then he buries his grandpa in the front yard, and then next thing you know, he's like going through ice caverns and journeying through Mount Doom and journeying through
He's
everything.
with Bulma. They're on an adventure at that point, and after the movie, he's gonna live in like Chi-Chi's pool house or something like
yeah,
that.
oh yeah, they're gonna make Gohan.
I am surprised that they're not doing it again. Like, is it because they just got so spurned by this one? This one was such a flop that nobody wants to touch it with a 10-foot pole.
this movie's toxic.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what it is because there's a money mine waiting to be mined. Here.
Maybe it's just aside from Speed Racer, it might just be a thing that shouldn't be touched because Avatar: The Last Airbender, like that movie, pissed people off too. I never saw it. I don't know anything about the show, but like people are precious about their anime, and
Yeah.
if
Super
you
mad
don't
about
do
that
it
movie
well,
existing.
no, yeah, like if you do
I
it
haven't
at
seen
all, you're gonna
any
piss
of
people
it.
off. Unless
like
it's for
so-
Speed Racer, which was from like 40 years before the movie came out. Like,
Yeah.
nobody gives a shit.
Even like I was showing Luke that rockin' Dragon Ball Z theme song or whatever. That's like a modern update. Like when they brought that from Japan to us kids in America, North America, they were like, let's put a rockin' song on it.
Well, like the old Dragon Ball theme song was kind of like what you picture when it's just like a super fun, sprightly song. It's like Dragon Ball, friends fighting together.
Yeah.
It's just like talking about like everybody's holding hands and going on an
Dragon
adventure.
Ball.
Sailor Moon was a hit here because
Sailor
they
Moon-
Yeah.
just kind of
How haven't they made that a movie?
Man, that was probably the
Yeah,
first.
how haven't they made that a movie?
Like
that
that's
was
That was the
people loved
first
that.
big Japan anime style hit, I think.
Like
over here.
that first season of that show. I was super on board when I was a kid. Everybody I knew was. It was like, oh, look at Tuxedo Rose. He's so badass.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Tuxedo Rose was badass. He's so mysterious.
Then, like, you got the later sailors introduced, like, from the further solar
Jupiter and
system
Saturn,
or something.
yeah.
Got a little more confusing. It's kind of
Yeah.
like me and my interest in the comic book movies that we have now is like,
Yeah.
okay, after that first generation of it, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't care anymore. How could I
Yeah.
possibly care?
Yeah, the stakes are gone.
So it's tough to do like a serialized thing in
Yeah.
a movie. Oh. You just got to kind of pick a story and go
In
with
comic books, over the passage of years or whatever, I can see it working, but in films and TV, it doesn't.
So-
But anyway, we're going to do our traditional thing. We
Yeah.
go around the horn, see what you guys liked better.
So yeah, I don't know. Should I
Go
start? I
ahead.
usually start.
Final thoughts,
Okay.
fucko.
Shit.
We've said so much.
Pants.
So it's me. It's shit pants. Obviously, Speed Racer is a much better movie. I adore that movie. I kind of think that warts and all, it's kind of flawless. I don't like the Spritle and the Chim Chim so much. Like they're the biggest problem with that movie, but it's so good. I'm glad that it's getting its reappraisal because it's well worth it. Dragon Ball, I tried to separate myself from the IP as much as I could, and it's tough, but I think that on its own merits, it kind of fails across the board, and it sucks because like it doesn't have to be exactly like the anime, but it could have been fun, it could have been exciting, and it wasn't. It was bland, it was kind of lifeless. And the Wachowskis, they did something truly magical with Speed Racer. It was so vivid and alive, and I think that if you're going to look for an anime adaptation, that's the best you can hope to see because they really studied where it came from and delivered. They came in as fans with an idea of what it was, and they did a great job.
Yeah. Speed Racer is more or less a technical masterpiece. Like it's actually, there's a few movies I've watched throughout the years where I watch them and I become jealous of the editing, and Speed Racer is one of those where it's just like
Jealous?
I'm jealous. I don't know. I can't explain it. The first time I watched Scott
Do
Pilgrim,
you edit films?
no, I don't. But which
What
makes
if
it
you did?
it makes it all the more ridiculous. Like the first time I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I was just watching how that movie was edited, and I was like,
That's a really good
I'm
example
jealous
of something like this done
for
well.
some reason. Hey, Edgar Wright
That's
is
kind of like a manga. It's
yeah, very much. Yeah, like the Scott Pilgrim is based on a
I
comic
love those books.
that was based on like a manga style kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Speed Racer is a technical masterclass from a bunch of masters, and it's just played so perfectly. Everybody in the cast buys in. They're playing it unironically. They're very sincere, and it just really comes across, and it's great. I can understand why it didn't necessarily hit when it came out, but I can also understand why it's becoming it's finding its cult classic voice now. People are rediscovering it. And yeah, Dragon Ball Evolution is how do we put this diplomatically? It's
It's shitty.
yeah, it's not very good. It's very generic. It's a very generic action adventure movie, and the fact that it's based on an intellectual property that's so unique and so beloved was its death knell. Before it even began filming, it was doomed to be hated. And sure enough, they just fulfilled their destiny. They filmed it and everyone hated it. So yeah, my vote's for Speed Racer.
My vote's last, as always.
But not least.
As usual, I have nothing much more to say.
You can do you first. Next.
We
Speed
stole
Racer.
it all.
I just go on.
Yeah.
And on.
Speed Racer's a lot of fun.
I just copied Vonn
And you know
in
what?
different words,
I-
and then you.
You said it all, man.
I kind of enjoyed Dragon Ball Evolution. I didn't think it was as bad as its reputation is.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Anyway, Speed Racer is obviously the best. That movie's really kick-ass.
I'd be really curious to experience Dragon Ball Evolution in a vacuum. Like, if I didn't know that there was anything any supplemental material that it was supposed to be based
There's
off
nothing
of.
to it. It's like me walking into a modern day Marvel movie. Like, I have no idea what's going on or why I should give a fuck about anything. And they're all by the numbers, and I don't give a fuck. So, what are we covering next week there, Mitchell?
Well, no man of woman born will want to miss the next episode of High and Low, where we take on 2 adaptations of one of the Bard's greatest masterworks, Macbeth. Fair is foul and foul is fair when we pit the master Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood against Jeffrey Wright's edgy 2006 Australian outing, Macbeth. Will all great Neptune's oceans wipe the blood clean from our hands? Stay tuned to find out. But until then, I'm Mitchell.
I'm Luke.
I'm Vonn.
And we'll see you next time on High and Low.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and all that good stuff.
Tell you later.
Dragon Ball Z. Dragon